Well, here we are, back again.
Hey everybody, happy Oscar Day. So as promised, we're doing a recap of the big nominees that came out today.
Ooh, were you just where your level was perfect?
Right here.
A little
Okay.
closer?
So we're
Oh,
gonna
perfect. Just like that. Just like
so
that.
so we're gonna talk about the nominees. We're gonna talk about as some I'm pretty sure a lot of you have already looked at the list. So as you know, there were some surprises, and there were also some delightful surprises and some shockers, a couple of snubs that even we weren't expecting. Um, but hey, that's the name of the game with the Academy Awards, and we'll have a little surprise too at the end as we, let's say, continue a recap of awards season.
Absolutely. The first thing before we get into each category, for the most part, the nominations seem to be in line with things we've been saying throughout the year.
Yeah, it was actually one of those surprise years where yeah, basically the movies we assumed were going to get a certain level of attention are getting it. Whereas last year there were a couple of more surprises. I confess I was taken aback by how many nominations, eventual wins, All Quiet on the Western Front got. Not because not because it's a bad movie. It's a very well made film, but just because it's an international German production, and so that was quite a surprise. This year, it really, as everyone watching probably already knows, it really is Nolan's year when it comes to the Oscars. I was surprised just by how far Oppenheimer edged Barbie. Aside from individual thoughts on the quality of both films, the technique of both movies and stuff, uh, just in terms of the sheer popularity of Barbie, I was a bit surprised how Oppenheimer really edged it out.
Oh, indeed. And I think that's where we'll get into the individual categories.
Yeah,
So let's just jump right into it. So
let's do it.
we will kind of leave the big ones for last,
Yeah,
like the Oscars do. So we'll go all the way down. If we haven't seen it, we'll just let you
we're
know
just
because
like,
we
yeah,
because
because we won't
honestly,
pretend.
honestly, we can't speak on something that we have not seen. So
Although in writing for original screenplay, where we're going to start, I'll just say off the bat, there's only one I haven't seen, which I should see because it's getting so much respect. But I just got to make time. I
I
just
think I
got to
know
make time.
exactly. Anatomy of a Fall.
Anatomy of a Fall,
That's probably the one which to me is one of the best films of the year.
which a lot of people are telling me
It's
that
quite
is fantastic.
it's amazing. So you already mentioned one, so we'll just read the nominations and kind of tell you how much it makes sense
Yeah.
and our predictions, because how we approach this, there are films that we want to win and there are films that we know the Academy will pick. And of
Yes.
course, there are films that might not be on here, but we might leave that for some other video because that's
Well, and
its own thing.
yeah, this is kind of this is like we're doing it MTV style here. We're reporting, right?
Yeah.
While opining, because there is at least one nominee in original screenplay that, I'm sorry, just does not belong there. Why is that in there? I don't know, and I think you know which one I mean. But let's start. Let's start. Let's just start with the list.
So right into it. Anatomy of a Fall.
Justine Triet
Uh,
and Arthur Harari.
It deserves to be there. The way, I don't know, the way the characters are written, the way it delves into criminal justice, and especially in courts, and
Yeah.
how really getting to the truth, if you basically destroy a person's character through doing it, is it worth it? If you don't ultimately get to the truth, will you even find the truth?
I mean, I still have to see it, but as I understand it, it is one of those special films that looks at you can say a genre that's been done so many times, but in the way you should do it when you're aiming for originality and actual human insights. So I'm very excited for this one. The
Uh,
next one we both really liked,
the
The
Holdovers.
Holdovers, David
Uh,
Hemmingson.
I'm very pleased that when we saw it in October, we were both like, "This is a
Wow,
damn good movie."
that
And
that was a
when it finally released, it's amazing to see that it resonated with people so much on almost every level: acting, directing, music.
the look, the cinematography, and funny enough for us, it was an October surprise because I think we just walked into that movie
Like,
knowing
what the hell
it's
is this?
oh,
Wilshire screening room. We were like, okay, this will be. We thought it would just be like, oh, this is a nice little film. But then we were like, oh, this is amazing.
we knew it was Alexander Payne, so we were
Downsizing
yeah.
was, hmm.
And I mean, I there was always that hope it would be good, just because, yeah, after Downsizing, it was kind of nice to see Payne going back to, let's say, a style or a world that he's always been comfortable in. But he didn't just go back to his comfort zone. He really went beyond he's also grown as a director, which was nice to see in this movie.
Yeah, and it's a film that seems like it will fall into cliches, but doesn't.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um, it's
It's a good Christmas movie.
it's a great Christmas movie. It's really excellent.
Yeah.
I've seen it twice and I loved it
Wow.
just as much each time. It really is incredibly special. And you'll see a few more names connected to this film later on down. I think
Exactly.
everyone knows exactly who we're talking about.
Well, and I will say that it's a good screenplay too, as an example of when a director fully clicks with a writer, because I keep forgetting Payne didn't write this movie.
Yes,
It's
yes.
he's usually known for also writing his own films, going back to The Election and those movies.
Which we will probably talk
Sideways.
about later down this year because we're about to have a train wreck in the
It's
US
an
of A.
election year.
It is.
Just as rowdy as the movie.
Well, May December, which did not get any, like, no nominations whatsoever, wasn't written by
Todd Haynes,
wasn't written by him either. So it
Samuel
can
Birch, and
sometimes work. So that's the Holdovers. David Hemmingson. Next one, Maestro. Cooper. Look, I hated it. I think Cooper had a lot of strings because Maestro's nominated a lot.
yes, I frankly I don't know how the screenplay is nominated. Maybe this will come back and bite me when I'm, trying to get through a door or something in this town. But it's
It's almost like Bradley Cooper co-wrote the script.
right. I mean, yeah, it's it's a screenplay that's all over the place. It doesn't find a frame of focus for the subject. It kind of wants to play the game of giving you this epic overview of Leonard Bernstein's life, while also pretending to dabble into some of his complexities. And what ends up happening is that both cancel each other out. So you kind of learn really nothing about Bernstein,
It's a movie about nothing.
and he doesn't become he doesn't become a character. Funny
No,
enough,
he becomes a
funny enough.
caricature.
Yeah.
It's awful. You're a little bit more lenient on it than I am. I couldn't stand it. I was just mad watching it.
I had a good well, and he's nominated, Matthew Libatik's photography,
Which I understand.
so as a cosmetic
But
thing, it
but
wasn't
then
the worst.
our back and forth is I don't even think the cosmetics served a a purpose.
Well, I think Cooper.
Oh wait, we should say that for cinematography.
Yes,
We'll
we'll say
get to
that
that
for
in a bit. I know
cinematography. Yeah.
there's always so much to talk about with film.
With these, especially bad ones.
Well, speaking of May December,
It's
May
nominated.
December it's one of the few nominations it got.
Sammy Birch and Alex. Well, Sammy Birch wrote it, and the story was by Birch and Alex Mechanik, which, for those of you wondering what the hell that means, that means Sammy Birch and Alex Mechanik came up with the concept. Birch actually went somewhere and sat down and wrote the whole. I'm assuming this was like 130-page screenplay
Something like
or
that.
something like that. But since you get credit, hey, you still get nominated. And it's a fantastic screenplay, one of the year's best, definitely deserving much more. Well, it's kind of funny how they're both Netflix movies, May December and Maestro, and May December does deserve the nomination.
I mean,
they're the best written Netflix movie of the year.
I mean, the reality is Monster and Rebel should have both gotten a screenplay nod, but
and more than that. I mean, well, we'll get into that later, but yeah, no, no. The fact that Maestro's nominated while a movie like Monster, and yeah, a movie like Rebel,
which, by the way, Monster, I finally saw it. It is my second favorite film of the year.
excellent movie. I loved it.
It's incredible. And that's all I say about it, because the less you know about it, the more you'll enjoy it.
Support your local art houses. It's playing right now, most likely at whatever art house company is in your area. Here it's the Lemley, but you know, wherever they do art house films in your
It's
town,
incredible.
it's playing. Yeah,
it's incredible. It just shot up to my second favorite. The way that the story unravels in the human story, the themes attached, it's absolutely breathtaking. You may or may not hear us talk about it at some point. We're still figuring stuff out for the rest of January.
and
but
another case of a director. I won't distract too much from the Oscars, but it's another nice case of a director going back to their strengths. He's one of Japan's big directors.
He directed Broker last year, which was one of my favorites.
He did 2 years ago. He did a interesting French film with Catherine Deneuve and Juliette Binoche called The Truth, which was good, but it wasn't his best. And now it's like, okay, Kaedera's back in form. Koreeda.
His last two are quite amazing. So, one of those weird things. And then Past Lives, I completely understand. I liked it a lot. I didn't love it.
I'm not surprised it's nominated. I thought it was an excellent screenplay. It's a wonderful examination of the complexities of different kinds of relationships. It explores that idea of, this simplifies it a little too much, but what happens when, let's say, two people are made for each other? Just life doesn't necessarily mean they'll end up together in a certain way. And so then it goes into the deeper questions of the nature of a friendship, the nature of love, the nature of a relationship, the duality of relationships.
And you know what? It's another film that doesn't fall into cliches.
No.
There's a husband character who, man, he's put in a tough position, but he handles it maturely. And I was half expecting a scene where he goes off on her. Either, he talks about how her career isn't the way that she wanted it to be, kind of as a way to compensate for his own shortcomings, but they never do that.
Well, because nice enough, it's not a film about jealousy or whatever, cheating, or it's not even about monogamy. It's really more about what happens with those funny connections we build with some people in life, and how those connections survive the passage of time. I mean, what happens when you really connected with someone years ago and you catch up later, and that spark is still there, but you've both built your own lives. It's a very rich screenplay. Celine Song, well deserved, and an impressive nomination considering it's her debut. So this is
came out swinging
already with her first one.
The real question is, can her next one live up?
That's always the question.
That's the tough one.
Because as we all saw with Saltburn, it doesn't always.
Well,
the follow-up doesn't.
I think we both approached her two films differently. It's let's just say she's not on this list for screenplay, and thank goodness, because she should not be writing her own movies.
Well, of course, she won last time. So
she should not have won last time. That's my point.
So she won last time, but I will say this year I agree. Saltburn.
Most of these are good. Maestro, you can tell its strings were pulled.
Yeah, see, that's the one.
It's like, screenplay for what?
See, I understand people's. I understand if someone thinks Past Lives, okay, that it's not the best film of the year, but it has merit. Maestro is the one on this list where I'm completely just kind of speechless as to why it's
Well,
nominated.
just wait until we get to makeup and prosthetics. You'll see two
Yeah.
movies on there that I wonder why they're there.
That's kind of happened.
Academy.
That's
I
kind of
think you know
happened
which
though.
two films I'm
Oh
referring
yeah.
to.
Oh yeah. No,
So,
but with
but for now, for screenplay.
well,
So,
one last note
uh,
on Maestro. Another reason I'm shocked the screenplay is nominated is because I could not comprehend a single thing Bradley Cooper said in the movie. So I don't know. I mean, I guess screenplay you can read the screenplay too and base your vote on the actual text, but but I haven't read the screenplay, so all I can say is I couldn't hear the fucking screenplay during the movie. That's I don't know. Maybe I saw it at the Egyptian. To be frank, as beautifully renovated as it's been, I'm not that impressed by the sound design of the building. It's actually not that great. Maybe I got to watch this movie again with headphones.
you really
I don't
don't.
know.
I
I
can
don't
tell
know.
you, you don't. You don't.
Yeah, the
But in terms of out of the ones we can't bring in movies we wish were nominated. That again, I think that would be an interesting like mini podcast.
oh
But
sure.
in terms of what we want to win versus what we think will win, what are we going for here? I'm
Uh
putting original screenplay. It's a toss up, but I would not be surprised if the Academy goes with The Holdovers.
I would not be surprised. However, I'm guessing it might go to Anatomy of a Fall
Well,
because of the way the nominations are panning out. I would bet my money on that one. Me personally, I would want either Holdovers or May December to take it. One, I'd be happy with one of those two winning, but I think it's going to be Anatomy of a Fall.
I think they'll go with Anatomy of a Fall, or they'll do May December as the only consolation for this film. But most likely, Anatomy of a Fall. What they'll pick, what I'd like to go for, either Holdovers or May December.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So we'll see. I was out of town last year, but we're hoping to have a bit of an Oscar party where we'll vote, and then
Oh,
someone will
that's
win it,
right. Yeah,
win a
yeah, yeah.
prize, and this time actually a prize. We'll figure out if we live stream it. It depends on
We
who's
might do a
there.
giveaway. If you guys tune in,
Ooh, there we go.
we'll give away a 6-piece McNugget order at
There we
Nikki
go.
Pastry.
Okay,
Best.
adapted. Now this one is very interesting.
Very yes, very. This one this year is trickier. There are three make total sense because they're taken from four are taken from
From
books.
books.
One is based on just a toy, and you all know which one we're talking about. So I mean, we'll start with the first one's American Fiction, Cord Jefferson.
Now I will say, it is, even though it's not my favorite movie of the year, I liked it. I enjoyed it, and I like to see that it's getting some attention.
Yes. You know what? Yeah, I really like the spirit of the film, and I like the approach of the director. I think what the movie has to say even makes up for its kind of you know straightforward visual style. It's not an overly stylized movie, but the themes, the performances, when the dialogue crackles, it really crackles. It's genuinely funny. I was thinking, I was thinking about that movie this week because we've got that Netflix show Griselda coming out. We're about another Latino narco and another Latino drug dealer. So while watching that, I was like, yeah, American Fiction. It's making even more sense now every day. So, and it's based on a book from 2000. So it's interesting how it feels even more relevant now, even though the book came out 24 years ago. Yeah, no, good job, Cord.
And then our next one is Barbie.
I'm really surprised. Okay, here's the thing. I enjoyed Barbie. I had a good time. It was a fun movie. I thought it had wit when it wanted to, and it the third act gets a little shaky, but I thought overall it's a fun piece of pop art. But you know what, Academy? Why didn't you just put that in the
Instead of Maestro.
Maestro,
You
that
know why?
slot
Because Bradley Cooper, I mean, it's produced
has
by
homies.
Scorsese, yeah, and and
He's
Mr. Spielberg.
he's got homies.
Very strange. So Barbie is Barbie. Oppenheimer, we've talked about it so much.
Yes, yes.
Everyone knows what this is. Everyone knows what it's adapted from.
I've seen it 4
You're gonna see
times.
Oppenheimer, I think, what, 14 times on this list?
Yeah, yeah. It leads the pack. It's got a huge amount of nominations. Um,
Makes sense.
Now it makes sense. It's almost like a given that it was going to be nominated for screenplay. I mean, okay, in terms of screenwriting craft, in terms of technique, if you read the screenplay itself, what does make it interesting in terms of just like the text is that Nolan wrote the whole thing in first person.
Yes.
So, a traditional screenplay has, these descriptions, what's going on. In Nolan's script for Oppenheimer, it's Oppenheimer talking to you, basically. So, uh, it'll literally say something like, "I then walked into the room and looked at, Robert Downey Jr." Okay, that's kind of cool. That's kind of
It makes sense.
yeah,
$1 billion.
yeah.
Poor Things.
I'm very happy that was
I,
nominated.
I also, I didn't love it, but I respect it. I
Uh,
respect it a lot, and the categories it was nominated for are well deserved.
yes, it makes the nominations for this movie make sense. It's a very nice
Written by a
screenplay.
Scotsman too.
Tony McNamara, who adapts a novel by a radical Scotsman that came out also over 20 years ago. Actually, I think 30 years ago now, and turns it into this Frankenstein meets steampunk meets feminist parable, surrealist romp. And McNamara, of course, you may remember his credits. He also wrote The Favorite for the director of this movie, Yorgos Lanthimos, and
which I personally liked more.
yes, I would say it was a better film. And he also wrote he was the showrunner for the Great on Hulu, which was just canceled. It was the Captain the Great has been dethroned over at Hulu. But it's a charming screenplay. It's got a lot of great elements to it, and yeah, very very well deserved. Much more than Maestro. I'm just gonna keep saying that in the screenplay.
Oh, this is gonna be the Dunkachino
Yeah.
on Maestro because it's just a fucking bad movie.
Yeah.
Now the next one, I'm glad this film got some recognition because it almost got completely thrown under the bus.
Yeah.
I think partly because of what's going on in Gaza.
I think also because I think that and I've made that case that movie is now more relevant than ever. Oh, is that Maestro being hauled away? I guess so. There's a garbage truck outside. So the zone of interest. Yes, I think it's a challenging film that definitely connects to a lot of what's happening now in the world. However, I wouldn't be surprised if the reason it just got less nominations than the other stuff is also classic Hollywood commercialism, where you've got this $1 billion movie about the atomic bomb and Barbie and all these movies. I think Zone of Interest is just it's also a different kind of film. It's a meditative, chilling, patient film
Well,
about the banality of evil.
well, let's put it simply. It's not as commercially digestible as
Yes,
Oppenheimer.
exactly.
It's one of the most unique films of the year. Man, I mean, I'm kind of like stuttering to talk about it because if I try and describe what the film is, it's going to sound like the most boring piece of crap you've ever heard of. But I think we talked about it a little bit in these terms when we did our recap. I think we said methodical and clinical.
Yes, for me, it embodies what Hannah Arendt meant when she said the banality of evil. Right? It's about this Nazi commandant who's in charge of Auschwitz, but it's from the point of view of his home and how you have these people involved in these horrific crimes, carrying on like it's just another office job, and while you hear the noise and even the screams sometimes of what's going on in the walls beyond his very plush suburban home in the concentration camp, he's the conversations, he doesn't have supervillain lines. It's him and his wife talking about how he deserves a promotion, and what if they move him to another base. And so she tells him, the way any corporate housewife would, she tells him, well, why don't you go talk to Hitler about it, so to keep your position assured. And I think that's way more frightening and challenging for viewers than any kind of just standard World War II movie, because it forces you to face the fact that horrible events, fascist regimes, murderous enterprises, like what's going on now in the Middle East, happen more because of the worker ants than the flashy head of state.
Well,
And
that's the thing.
yeah,
There's so many movies about Hitler that they kind of do turn him into a bit of a celebrity,
yeah, a cartoon,
a
basically. Yeah,
cartoon.
yeah, yeah.
And the thing is, this film basically portrays the everyday life of Nazi Germany. And that's what's so chilling about it, because we as a society don't like to think of existence in those terms.
And
And the way history presents it, they always make it sound so clear cut. Well, the reality is we see a lot of those things happening in the United States with our neighbors, and the same kind of rhetoric
well,
is used.
what's chilling for people and what people don't want to face, I think, when they see a movie like this is, the point the movie makes is the same point Arendt makes in her great book, which I recommend to everybody. I mean, this movie is based on a Martin Amis novel, but I recommend that everyone check out Hannah Arendt's book Eichmann in Jerusalem, where the point she makes that this movie makes so well is, this isn't like a freak incident. Like the way these guys are operating in this movie, that can happen anywhere, and frankly, it could be any one of us in the audience, because in whatever is happening, one of the toughest things for anyone to do is risk their job, put aside their ambitions to take a moral stance. And the chilling thing in this movie is that the commandant of Auschwitz, you can tell that he's shut off the capacity to think, and not just him, but his wife, everyone there, because they're just really thinking about whatever, their career. They're not even talking in grand,
Well,
romantic,
the other thing
dictatorial terms about this stuff.
that I think people don't understand about events like this, and again, people seem to think that the Holocaust is a unique event in modern world history, and it's not. And the reality is, because as people, they've been conditioned to think as of another group of people as not that. They aren't people. They are these like invisible enemies. And yeah, why would you think that exterminating them is evil?
Uh,
If you condition people to think that way, why would they think what they're doing is wrong?
no, exactly. As captured in Ava DuVernay's Origin, which is now playing also in theaters.
Go check it out.
Another movie that's also put under the rug while everyone goes to watch Jason Statham snap necks and throw dudes off bridges.
Well, so on Adapted, what do I want to win? Honestly, Zone of Interest. What I think will win, probably. Oh, this is tough.
It's a tricky one.
You know what? I think the one most likely, Oppenheimer, but I think the twist could be Poor Things, because Poor Things is Barbie but better.
Here's the thing. It's a tricky one because I agree. I think the most likely is Oppenheimer, especially if Nolan is going to take Best Picture that night. Um, it's not always a given. Some many times Best Screenplay does not win Best Picture, but because of the momentum of what we're seeing, it's likely Nolan will win. However, I wouldn't be shocked if they also give this one to Gerwig, as the
Consolation. I
consulate.
see.
Yeah, like we didn't nominate you for
You're
director,
right.
but hey,
You're right.
you made the industry $1 billion.
You know what? You're right.
Here's the
Because
screenplay.
she didn't get nominated for directors.
She did not, which
You
is
know what?
causing a stir online.
I'm gonna change my vote. What I want to win is Zone of Interest, and what I think will win, which is a very similar movie to Zone of Interest, is Barbie.
I agree. I would want Zone of Interest to take it. But I think yeah, it's either Oppenheimer or Barbie. I think that's one where I just wouldn't be shocked if they give
I could
Gerwig
say,
that
yeah,
one.
you're right about
Because
that.
even Margot Robbie was not nominated for actress.
Well, and someone else was nominated for supporting actress, which is shocking to me.
I know, yeah, I know.
I mean, that's
what
just
you
a
mean.
joke, which we'll get to later. But I mean, the other problem is that some of the similar categories Poor Things and Barbie are nominated in, I think Poor Things should take it over Barbie every time.
Well, that's the thing. And when Poor Things came out, I was always telling people, hey, I like Barbie, but Poor Things really does a better job saying what Barbie is saying. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they give if I don't think Poor Things has any shot of winning Best Picture or
Hell
Director.
no, nope.
So I think what they're gonna do is give Poor Things costume and that sort of thing.
We'll get to that.
As
But for now,
prize, yeah.
we want Zone of Interest to win. But what we think the Academy will give them on March 10th, I think is the date. Barbie. You're
Yeah.
right. Okay, moving on. Best visual effects. This one is very interesting, and
I kind of up in there.
and I did call it about the creator,
Yes.
which is our first one
Well
because
deserved though. Yeah.
because Dune is pushed back to March of this year.
Thank you, Strix.
It basically gave the creator to shine. And you know what? What we said in our Breaking It Live, which is all of them are now on YouTube, is that the creator doesn't have an original story, but it gets the technical elements really well.
Well, it's really a visual film more than anything. I mean, yeah, the world it creates is so immersive and convincing. You can forgive the more cliche sci-fi elements that are in it. So I think it's very well
How many
deserved.
times can this garbage truck? I don't know if you guys can hear, but there's a garbage truck that's passed by like 5 times already.
Boy, it's because Maestro's like 3 hours
It's because
long.
Bradley Cooper's trying to break into
Yeah.
the window here. But anyway, visual effects. So the creator, nice
Very well
toss
deserved.
in there. The next one, which is awesome, Godzilla
Minus
-1,
one.
which we still need to see.
We still need to see it but I'm pleasantly surprised. This was a pleasant surprise because the movie has generated such attention as cinema, not just as like a monster movie. It's nice to see the Academy recognize the craft of this movie. So when we catch it, we'll give you an update on what we thought about
Breaking
it.
It Live.
We'll give
Yes.
we'll give you an update on it. And then after that one,
Guardians of the Galaxy
Galaxy
3. Look, first of all, I don't remember about prosthetics. I hope it's nominated for that because I think this film holds the world record for the most prosthetics ever used in a film.
Oh, really? Wow,
Yeah.
so I didn't know that. Wow. Wow.
But yeah, visual effects. I mean, those animals.
Oh, it was such a fun, and that it was the least of the 3 Guardians movies. But one thing that's always impressive is how James Gunn makes these digital characters feel empathetic and real. Like you care for Rocket Raccoon.
Bradley Cooper gave a better performance as Rocket.
Yes. Oh my God.
I
yes,
mean, not
yes.
even close. This is not even a joke. I really thought Bradley Cooper should have been nominated for a Razzie. He was embarrassing, really embarrassing as Leonard Bernstein, but as Rocket, he killed it.
He's great. I mean, it's crazy how you feel more for him in that movie than in Maestro. And it's also a nice little nod at James Gunn's own send off from Marvel. That was his last movie for the MCU before he goes to reboot DC.
Yep. Superman.
And honestly, it was the best Marvel movie of the year. Anyway, I mean, it really was.
Again, the bar was low, but yeah,
it was definitely
my thoughts. We've said it on our breaking the year down. It has extremely high highs and extremely low lows. It's my least favorite of the Guardians, but it's still a James Gunn film. I just think he had less to prove in this one. but it's still, as far as Marvel movies go,
That was the best
it's
one
a
of it.
legit
Yeah,
pretty good
and
film. So,
soundtrack was still killer.
but yeah,
Put Florence and the Machine back on my
yep.
top Spotify list of the year.
So visual effects make sense. Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part One, I
Oh
think it's
yeah.
there because it has a lot of invisible effects.
Well, and a lot of practical effect. I mean, uh, the famous mountain jump by Tom
Yeah.
Cruise, and it's a movie where the action just feels both classic and solid. It's stunning, kind of like what Top Gun did last year, but to an even
Well,
wilder degree.
Top
Yeah,
Gun, yeah, I'm
but
not a fan. But this one, and by the way, out of nowhere, they changed the name, so now it's just Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning.
yeah, I think. Well, this was one of those movies
Well,
that.
Paramount's, you know that Tom Cruise just struck a new deal with like Warner Brothers,
Mhm.
because I mean Paramount front. I mean, let's call a spade a spade. They fucked up.
Well, yeah, I really that last year that was one of the weirdest release plans where they knew the Barbenheimer train was coming full speed, and they still decided to release this movie. It was like 2 weeks or something before Barbenheimer, so it
Yep.
was kind of nuts. So it was not a big box office success. The returns were disappointing, especially in comparison to the last Mission Impossible movie, Fallout, which was uh, such an excellent movie as well. And frankly, all the recent Mission Impossible
Oh,
movies have been
they're
fantastic.
classy
Uh,
films. But yeah, I guess that's why I got visual effects. I mean, kind of like when 1917 won, a
yeah.
lot of those hidden tricks. So hey, a nice shout out to them. And then the last one, Napoleon.
Okay, that's one where I'm like, why is this here? I
Look,
mean, I mean, come on.
honestly, I think their reasoning is that they did a lot of probably digital set extensions and then the battles.
Sure, but it's so okay. This movie was one of my biggest disappointments of the year. I thought, it's got the usual. Ridley Scott will never frame a shitty shot. I mean, the guy is just a master of this kind of filmmaking by now. So the movie looks gorgeous, but there's also nothing particularly new in it in terms of the stuff Scott does. Uh, I
Well,
mean,
for example, here's the crazy thing: The Killer and John Wick 4. I've seen the VFX breakdowns of those movies, and you would be
oh,
stunned
okay.
to see the kinds of things they did in that movie.
How is
It
John Wick not nominated for that battle around the Arc of
I
Triumph?
I s-
Like
did
what?
what they did there. I was like, how did they shoot this? And the reality is CGI, baby.
Yeah,
But you know what? When you do it well, you you
and
you
done properly.
and
That's the
same with The
thing.
Killer.
Yes, yeah. Well, the killer. I was shocked when you showed me how there's like a scene, and this
He's
spoils.
riding the scooter.
Yeah, and this spoils nothing if you haven't seen the movie. But there's a scene where he's riding a scooter through Paris, and you think it's Michael Fassbender, but
It's a digi double.
it turns
Well,
out
here's
it's
the
not
thing.
him.
I want to talk about this very quickly. Nolan and Fincher actually do use a lot of VFX. The problem is
Yeah.
they have such a keen eye. Say what you will about Nolan's films in general. You don't have to be a fan, but when you see the breakdowns of what he does, he uses them. Both of these directors use them in clever ways you could never tell. Mindhunter,
Oh yeah.
a lot of that is green screen,
Oh yeah.
and I could never pick up on it.
Well, but with this movie, when Napoleon, yeah, okay, you know what? It's kind of crazy how maybe it's because they didn't want to overdo it with the nominations, but the fact that Nolan, well, I guess Oppenheimer doesn't have that many visual effects in terms of
Well,
big
here's the
moments,
thing.
but
They probably use VFX, which is
yes,
different than CGI. I think a lot of people don't know the difference. VFX can be anything from like certain kinds of coloring,
yeah.
removing stuff in the background. I
But
think when they talk about
well, I thought they would nominate Oppenheimer just for the fact that the guy really created an explosion, right? to emulate the atomic bomb blast. But because
but then Godzilla minus one came out.
right, yeah, because Napoleon. Okay, I mean, what that shot of him firing cannonballs at the pyramids, which actually is historically inaccurate. Napoleon never did that, but
Well, it would give any serious historian an aneurysm watching it.
and
But
and also, or for example, okay, we get close-ups of how a cannonball would rip a horse apart. I mean, again, when have we not seen this already in other movies? I think they were just being kind to Sir Ridley because he's an
You know what?
institution,
If that was their reasoning, why didn't they give it to Thanksgiving?
Oh well, because Napoleon is a serious movie.
Oh, I forgot.
See, that's the
Well,
thing. That's the
now
thing.
it's the time. Visual effects. Who do we want to win, and who do you think is going to take? Now, remember, I have not seen Godzilla minus one,
Neither have I.
so I'm going to go with what? Who do I want to win? This is actually tough. I'm flip flopping between Guardians and Creator for who I want to win.
Okay, I would want the Creator to win just because it's such a immersive film that knows how many special effects to use. And I liked how the director combined the sci-fi elements, but also with the classic look of a war movie like Apocalypse Now or Platoon, and and knew how to do, for example, shots that you would associate with a Vietnam War movie turned upside down into like a dystopian sci-fi thing. Like, those shots of the ships flying over these
Yeah.
Southeast Asian valleys, and you see a monk, but it's a cyborg in a monk's cloak. So that was cool. And then my second choice would be Guardians, but I would prefer and also the
Interesting.
Creator was like a nice boost to people who are afraid of not having millions of dollars to make a good looking
Yeah.
movie, because he famously shot it with these
The Sony A4 or
which
something.
you can get at Best Buy apparently for 20K or something like that, or 10K or
So
something.
interesting.
So
Okay, Creator. I will lean towards the Creator for what I want to win. Now, what will win? This is very interesting. How will the Academy think? Invisible effects or Creator? They might give it to Creator,
yeah,
or they'll give Marvel. They'll finally give Marvel their little.
I wouldn't be shocked if, funny enough, I wouldn't be shocked if they give it to Godzilla.
Oh, right.
Yeah, just again, we haven't seen the movie, but I wouldn't be shocked if, to show their classiness, they would give it to
Okay,
Godzilla.
interesting.
It's kind, because it's fun, because here's the nice thing about visual effects. Visual effects is always a category that kind of operates on its own. Yes, sometimes Best Picture will win visual effects, like Titanic, but rare. But that's one of those where it's not. Whoever wins visual effects is not an indicator of who's going to then
Oh,
take the other big
absolutely.
statues.
You know
So,
what? So I'm going to disagree with you on what the Academy will go
mm,
for to make it interesting. I think they might give it to Guardians.
mm,
I think I see what you're saying with
yeah.
Godzilla, but I'm going to be a slight contrarian. I'm going to say they'll give it to Guardians, but I want the Creator to win.
Now,
So
Sir Ridley can come in and deliver a shocker, which he famously did in 2000. I think people forget, especially if you weren't conscious at the time, um, that Gladiator won Best Visual Effects in 2000.
that's right.
It beat The Perfect Storm.
I remember we mentioned this. I think we
Yes.
mentioned that when we talked about the Oscars 2022 or
Yes.
23 or something.
So you never know. Roger Ebert, our guiding star, when that happened, when he was doing his own predictions of the Oscars, he actually said something like, "Hey, if it wins Best Visual Effects, that'll be me. You hear screaming in shock." And that's actually what happened. And if you watch Gladiator today, not to throw shade on it, I still think it's a good film. It's a very entertaining movie. But
Gladiator 2 just finished filming.
so it's coming out. Knowing Ridley's speed, it's probably going to come out this fall.
Honestly, probably.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean, that's how he did Napoleon. But I wouldn't be shocked if that one pulls off kind of weird upset like Gladiator. Because if you watch Gladiator now, it's going to be 24 years now later. I mean, the visual effects are the least the least impressive thing about that movie. In fact, watching it in 4K, if you watch it now in like full 4K HD or something,
Mm,
that panning shot of the
oh
Coliseum
yeah.
looks really bad when it's when it's panning. It looks like a bad 90s video game now when it pans over.
Oh,
So,
we're gonna talk about bad '90s video
oh
games
yeah, yeah, yeah.
for
Just saying.
our little treat
A
at the
little
end.
addendum. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
Uh,
but I think you're right. I think I wouldn't be shocked if they do give it to Guardians, also as a little nod at Disney. It's
I,
a little
I
nod at
I could
Marvel.
see that. I mean,
I wouldn't be
I'll go.
shocked.
I'll go with that for now. But I think what you're saying is right, especially because it's like the only time it's on this list. But well,
Yeah, it could just be this. This is their one chance to honor a unique movie like Godzilla minus one.
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah,
Okay, best sound. So when it comes to technical categories, you'll see a few names kind of packaged together.
yeah.
So there's some technical films that will visual effects, sound mixing, that kind of stuff. Although I think sound, I think they just made it one category.
Yes, I think. Well, there's been so much pressure to shorten the broadcast. Um, Well, actually, there was one year where the ratings hit the floor when these weren't even put on the broadcast anymore. There was a year where they kept the technical awards off the air. I think it was like the first post COVID
Which was
Oscars,
super insulting,
and like no, then the ratings hit
of
the
course.
floor.
So
Um,
I mean, we have a few similarities.
Kind of repeats
The creator,
great
which
sound.
the same for the very same reasons we talked about effects. I mean, it's a sci-fi movie; those tend to have amazing sound effects.
But solid, yeah, very grounded.
Maestro is
What? Okay,
there.
why? This is
Look,
another
okay, so
one.
this is the
This
thing
is
I've noticed from
another
the
one.
Academy, music movies, not
Yeah,
musicals, but you know,
music themed films.
music
Yeah.
themed films, like biopics,
But
Bohemian
why?
Rhapsody.
But
They
why? I mean, because look, okay, like Bohemian Rhapsody, I kind of get just because when you're doing like a rock biopic, there's a lot of intricate mixing involved. I mean, The Doors, Val Kilmer famously sang himself the role with, and then they mixed his voice with the original Doors tracks. Bohemian Rhapsody, Rami Malek also did like a lot of interesting kind of playing around with, and of course you have to create that sound of a live band. Um, Maestro. I mean, again, I could not comprehend anything Bradley Cooper was. Why
Yeah,
is
I
this
think the other
nominated for
thing is
sound?
because that they had often live orchestra, like they had a real orchestra play
Oh, sure, sure,
during those
sure.
scenes. So, but even so, it's like okay, whatever.
I mean, oh, right, because he really did conduct Mahler,
Yeah.
right? That was
God,
kind of part of
what a
the.
gimmick
Yeah.
movie. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Mission Impossible. Look,
I mean,
crazy action movie.
those are. This is the category where these kinds of movies shine because, I mean, these movies, the sound design on these things is really crazy, and even when they're not that great,
You
and
have to admire
yeah,
the work that goes in
and
to
in
make
the,
those pop.
but in this case, the action movies in the category are fantastic. Dead Reckoning was a fantastic
I
action
can't
film.
wait to watch it again.
Yeah, no, it's such a
That'll
good
be
movie.
fun.
I'm telling you that they know
They're
how Tom
classy.
knows what he's doing with these.
Say what you will about him, his reputation precedes him, but for this franchise,
Oh, he knows what he's doing. He knows
he's
what
going to
he's
make
doing.
it work.
Um,
Next film, Oppenheimer. Now, this is a very bizarre one for me because our biggest criticism was the sound mixing was so whack in this movie.
but okay, but this gives a good window to talk about the fact that for a director that's not terribly controversial, right? Nolan is not a provocateur. Um, Sound is like the one topic surrounding this director that provokes the most arguing or discussion because he is famously a guy who never mixes it down. All his movies are very loud. The music never stops.
Look, Tenet, again, I really enjoyed it, but that sound mixing
Oh yeah,
was
yeah.
god awful.
I, you know, as I've said before on the podcast, I enjoyed Tenet the second time. I enjoyed it more the second time I watched it. But even with headphones, there were some moments where Pattinson and the other guy
Well,
are just
okay,
like,
so let's recreate a scene. So It literally sounds like
Yeah.
that. You're like, oh my god.
Yeah, no, literally, like I would pump it up to hear what the heck Pattinson was saying, and then all of a sudden, I would get this huge explosion through my eardrum. So, this again, I'm not surprised because Nolan is always getting nominated in the technical categories. This just happens to be the first year where he's back in the technical categories, but also now expanding into the biggies, the big prestige categories.
Well, speaking of prestige, our next one, the zone of interest. This was a surprise for me.
Not for me, to be honest.
Well, okay, let me rephrase it.
Yeah.
When I saw the film, the sound made sense. What I mean is, it's a surprise that the Academy acknowledged it
Yes.
for what it's doing.
Yes.
For anyone who's seen the film, again, we can describe what it does, but the effect it has from seeing it's on a whole nother level.
The sound is, well, this is one of those movies where the sound is so key. I mean, it's so key.
Well, one could say it was pitch perfectly mixed.
Oh yeah.
The effect that it gets. I mean, I'll let you explain it because I think I will just turn people off.
I'll just kind of say what the sound does is it does that special thing where it brings across the ideas of the story so well, because it's almost like it creates a parallel world in your mind. So, for example, you can be watching two people in the movie having lemonade in this very beautiful garden and talking about mundane stuff, but then you can hear in the background the sound of rock being chiseled, horses dragging something,
Smokestacks,
and you don't, I'll put it this way, you don't have to see Auschwitz to know it's Auschwitz. And if you don't know what Auschwitz is, then shame on you. You need to go.
Well,
do
people
some
might
reading.
know because some of my two least favorite people on planet Earth decided to do a photo op in front of there, and
that's
I'm going to leave it at
right.
that.
Ben Shapiro.
I'm going to leave it at that.
Who I just found out I share birthdays with, which
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I was like, who was born on my birthday? You serious? Ben Shapiro.
You should debate him.
Yeah.
But it's, to me, it's the kind of beautiful sound mixing where it's so textured, it's so layered. Again, it's so it's almost perfect. What they do, it's the equivalent of when you go and see like a Caravaggio painting or one of those Renaissance masters, and yes, you get the scope of what the painting is doing when you just walk. You see it from 5 yards away, but when you walk in and examine it really closely, the details just make your jaw drop.
Well, and in the case in the term in the when it comes to movies, the sound here creates the environment so brilliantly. It's almost a great example of less is more, right? So the other nominees are these big visual exploding films that are very entertaining.
The sound effects are at the forefront.
Yes.
They're noticeable and impressive, but they announce themselves.
Here, you might not even realize how it's the sound pulling you in and creating what you're feeling. So here it's like the sound also functions on the same level as the music in other films. And because the music here is very minimalist in this movie,
but very haunting.
But it's the sound, because the sound really forces you to imagine the unthinkable in your mind. You're kind of thinking, you're imagining in your mind what's going on behind that wall in the concentration camp, and then you realize there's someone just sipping lemonade and right next to it, and we don't mince words here, but yeah, I mean, watching the movie, the sound design more than anything made me think about a situation like Gaza, like how many people were living next to that wall.
Yes. And for our viewers, we don't know when, I don't know if early spring, but we are going to do an episode that talks about
Middle Eastern cinema,
the current situation. So we'll have a lot more thoughts. But for the meantime, best sound. Now, this is going to be an interesting one for me. I want the Zone of Interest to win, and I think the Academy will pick it because when it comes to the technical categories, we've had a few
Yeah.
instances where it's the invisible effect movie or the very subtle and layered, but sometimes they pick like Bohemian Rhapsody. So they can hit a home run and sometimes hit a foul ball, but I'm going to pick Zone of Interest for what I want to win and what I think the Academy might pick this time.
I'm actually going to concur with you. Out of the nominees in this category, that's definitely my top pick. I think that's the one they're going to go for. Also because the people voting in this department surely will want to recognize the innovation of it. However, just don't be surprised if Oppenheimer pulls off an upset.
Sure.
So that'll be that.
And it
That's my
wouldn't even
take
be
on
an
it.
upset, but I want to go for both.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't think
Maestro should not win anything. I'm just insulted. It's on this list for cinematography. We'll get to
Yeah.
that slightly more understandable.
Frankly, before I know we'll talk about it when we get there, but that's kind of the only one I even think. Okay, fine. I understand why you're nominated for that, but everything else, yeah, I have no idea what's going on there.
Now moving on, live action short film. The only one that I know of and I haven't seen is The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar, which is the Wes Anderson
Netflix
anthology.
Roald Dahl adaptation.
I'm really sorry, live action short films. As much as I love short films and I come from that world, I don't know any of these, so I'll just read them off. The After, Invincible, not to be confused with the animated show, Knight of Fortune, and Red, White, and Blue.
And The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar.
Which I'm just gonna say that's gonna win.
I know it's Netflix. It's Wes Anderson.
Asteroid City wasn't nominated for anything,
exactly.
so
Now,
oh yeah, Asteroid City, not a single thing. Like that's the
well,
thing. You see movies like Maestro, and you're like, come on, man.
no, I agree. Asteroid City was a better film. However, I just think it just disappeared. It just didn't have the same clout as his previous films.
But come on, like production design, those
no,
things.
I agree.
That's odd.
Now, I will also apologize to the filmmakers of the live action short film, even though we ourselves are embarking on making one. I haven't seen any. I have not seen any of these. Because for those watching who are wondering, well, what the heck? Where can I watch these things? These films tend to be shown more, with the exception of something like the Wes Anderson one that was made for Netflix. Most of these films are really made for the festival circuit to then put the filmmakers' names out there and gain them, attention, jobs. That's really how those work. And some of them, then you might find them sprinkled around certain distributors, like some of the streamers, Amazon, Max. But this is one category where I think most of the audience will probably actually discover these movies precisely because they were nominated.
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah, that's kind of how the short one works. Yeah,
we might catch them over the year, but this has always been a category that I don't know that much about. Same with best animated short.
Exactly.
I only see one that just says "War is Over," inspired by the music of John and Yoko, which, for the fact that it's about John and Yoko,
I mean that already grabs my attention, but I have no idea. Their Letter to a Pig, 95 Senses, Our Uniform, Pachyderm, and that's kind of.
Hopefully we'll be inspired to see them.
Yes,
after the festival.
Hopefully the winner gets just put out there. They used to release these back in the day. They would then release these in DVD packages, and that's how you could catch them. These days, you kind of just have to hunt them down online. Oh well, sometimes the director would just put them on YouTube, so you'll be able to just see them on YouTube.
There you go.
Okay, here we
go. Now moving on,
to
production design. Now, again, excellent nominations. I do think they left one out, but what can you do? So we're gonna run it down. Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. Now, what's so interesting about this list to me? 3 of these films are period pieces, and 2 of them are about dolls.
No, you're right. And what
And
I
one of them is also and actually one of them is also a period
well,
piece.
well, well, production design and costume are categories where period pieces tend to always dominate because of the, well, I mean, the sheer effort it takes to recreate a past time, and then of course, um, they tend to be visual films. Sci-fi is also a big one in this category sometimes. What I first noticed though was this is the first mention of Killers of the Flower Moon, which I think was expected to get more nominations than what it got, even though I think it's like the third most
I
nominated.
don't know if it got nominated for best score, but that's a missed opportunity because I mean it's the heartbeat of the film.
Yeah,
We'll talk
we'll
about
talk
that
about
in a
that.
bit. But
But for production design,
here's the problem with Barbie, right?
yeah,
The Barbie world, kind of crazy, right? But the problem is when it switches to the real world, that's included in the package. And
yeah.
that's what would you say about a third of the film?
Yeah, the whole middle of the movie really is just dinky
And it
old
looks
Santa
bad
Monica.
too. I'm
Yeah,
sorry, Rodrigo, but like
who was not nominated for this one.
thank
Funny enough,
goodness because
he had a big year, but he's nominated for
that was
Killers.
not
And
that was not
uh,
so look, the costumes in the Barbie world are great. I mean, I don't know what to tell you, but
yeah, it's, the movie shines best when it does bring to life that plastic world well, essentially imagining what would it be like if you
oh,
actually
a little closer. It's not picking you up.
like the movie shines best when it imagines, yeah, what would it be like if you walk through a box of Barbie
Yeah.
of Barbie toys. But I would bet my money on Poor
Well,
Things.
let's talk about the other ones
Yeah,
and what we think. So, Killers of the Flower Moon, a period piece. I mean, great
great
costumes. The mix
costumes,
between
kind of that nice bridge between the 20th century, the early 20th century, and the Old West. So it's
yes,
got that kind of interesting turn of the
a
century
bit
look,
of the Deadwood
Deadwood
kind of
vibe.
vibe. Napoleon.
Say No
Look,
More, Ridley
French
Scott.
Revolution.
One, it's Ridley Scott. I mean, again, these are categories where I'm just not shocked to see one of his movies because Ridley just is just the master at designing
It's
a
true.
film. In his spare time, the guy paints and he
Yeah,
does his own
he's keeping
storyboards.
active. Good for him at 86, right?
Yeah, that's why I'm not even too annoyed by seeing him get
This
nominated,
look,
because I go, you know what? He's again, he it's like acknowledging a 97-year-old composer, even though his latest symphonies may not be up to
yeah.
may not be, but hey,
Hey, but you
you
could say
get
the same about Scorsese, and Killers was great. So
exactly,
look, but for production design, understandable. Now Oppenheimer, it makes sense because I mean they did rebuild that town.
they recreated it. Yeah, it's a very
Well, they did the same with Killers.
yes, but I
I
think
was thinking of costumes, but
but
they did rebuild that town.
well, they rebuilt the town, and they also, you can tell they paid meticulous attention to, recreating the bomb and all of, things that look simpler than Napoleon but are still impressively pulled off. I'm thinking of the Trinity site where they tested the bomb, the way they built the tower to accuracy so it looks like the real thing,
Well,
and
the labs are extremely intricately and
he
meticulously
put
put
together.
together.
I love that shot in the movie when they're about to test the bomb, and you see those lights turn on leading up to the tower where the bomb is. So yeah, I'm not surprised by that.
Now, Poor Things. For me, Poor Things, without the production design and costume design, the movie would have fallen flat.
Oh well, I mean,
I mean, man, those sets are amazing. The costumes, which we'll get to.
no, and I'm a sucker for. It's something some people don't realize about me, but I'm a sucker for Victorian
Well, it's
movies.
Victorian steampunk.
And
I
it
mean,
was, yeah.
let's be real. Barbie and Poor Things are the only two movies that needed real imagination to
Yes.
create something. The difference is Barbie, there was already a pre-existing foundation with the toys.
Yes.
Poor Things is the only film here that these guys came up with these intricate sets and costumes from scratch.
Oh yeah, because if you read the book, for example, the book does not have any sort. It's a fun book, but it doesn't have any environmental descriptions, or it does not imagine some kind of steampunk world. The book really reads more like a wink at Mary Shelley, right? So the way they just imagine, you're right, from scratch this movie, way more impressive than anything in Oppenheimer or anything in Killers.
So if we haven't made it clear, I want Poor Things to win. I mean, I want it now. What's tricky with production design for what I think the Academy will go for, either, oh, this is tough. Barbie, I feels like, but also because Killers and Oppenheimer were doing similar things.
No, you know what? I I want Poor Things to win.
We both do,
We
so we're
both
on the
do, yeah.
same page.
But I kind of think the real competition here will be from Barbie. Precisely because of what you just said, which is both of these movies were these were the two movies that actually required more an actual creative eye. Well, they're all creative, obviously.
Of course,
But
we, no,
this
we
one
don't
is,
want to diminish them, but the
yeah.
idea that these other films are based on historical records.
Yes.
Barbie and Poor Things.
But I wouldn't be surprised if this becomes another consolation prize for Barbie. That's the only reason I would think it might win.
Oh, you're right. Yeah,
you
they're
know.
gonna give it PD and makeup, right?
Like, oh my gosh,
no, makeup. Oh well, no, we'll talk.
I don't think about makeup, but I think, I don't know. It's almost like I actually think it's a 50-50 between Poor Things and Barbie. I would be shocked if any. Basically, what I'm saying is I would be surprised if anyone other than those two movies wins in this category.
Okay.
So
you think they'll lean to Barbie? Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
So I want Poor Things to win. We want we both want. Our podcast officially endorses Poor Things to
Things.
take production design. But yeah, I see what you're saying about Barbie. I think that's what they'll pick.
I would. Yeah, I would. I just wouldn't be surprised if they go
I
with
wouldn't be
Barbie.
surprised.
Original
song.
Okay, I'm sorry. When I read the first one, I just laughed out loud when I was, because I forgot this song existed. First off, because the movie to me was very forgettable. I don't know who. What's her name? The director of that movie. I don't know if she's got friends or what that helped her get that nomination. But before we jump into all that, the song category, over the last few years, it's actually lost a bit of its shine, just because the golden age of soundtracks is kind of written off into the sunset. It used to be that soundtracks created chart toppers, and it did happen this year, or this past year. It did happen momentarily with Barbie, but the age of the soundtrack of Batman Forever, Dangerous Minds, Titanic, that era is kind of, especially because now you can stream whatever you want, and you can, if you have Spotify or Apple Music, you can listen to anything anywhere. You don't have to go and get the Batman soundtrack to hear Kiss from a Rose or something. So it's kind of lost a bit of its shine. However, this year, for once, there were at least a couple of songs I actually recognized.
So I'll just read them off. So The Fire Inside from Flaming Hot. What? Okay. Now I'll just group these two together. I'm Just Ken. And What Was I Made For from Barbie.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
It Never Went Away, which I think it was from a documentary about John Baptiste.
Yes, it's a Netflix documentary which you can watch. Yeah.
And then Huashage, a song for my people from Killers of the Flower Moon. They're gonna give it to I'm Just Ken.
I don't know. Okay, here's my take. I think Barbie is gonna win it for sure. The question is which one, because Billie Eilish did just win the Golden Globe for What Was I Made For.
But was I'm Just Ken nominated in that category? I don't remember. Oh,
yeah.
Interesting.
But I think I'm Just Ken
If
might win it.
if they do a live performance, which they will, I think I'm Just Ken is going to take it.
Yes, I actually think. Plus, it was the most recognizable song from the movie. I mean, that's the one that entered the charts thanks to the film.
Yeah.
So
So I'm gonna kind of break a rule. I'm gonna say that Barbie's gonna take it for original song because it's not. This is the one the Academy will pick. It's a toss up, but Barbie. So either one. Now the one that I want to win, I actually really like What Was I Made For, but I wanna see a song for my people. I don't know.
uh I'll be honest, I don't remember the song.
Mm.
But you're right. I would like to see something different from the norm win. I like What Was I Made For. I really liked I'm Just Ken. I thought that was a fun movie, a fun song.
The problem is they're gonna do a live song and dance, so it's
Yeah,
gonna
I
win.
thought it was a witty song about male insecurity. Okay, my only other comment on song, Fire Inside. Why is this not? Totally forgot that was even in the movie. You might all remember that was the film about the guy who claimed he invented flamin' hot Cheetos.
Now we
Um,
say claim because it's been
it
disproven.
was even after it was disproven, they still released the movie. And as a Latino, it was kind of insulting because that's how they were promoting it. The idea, oh look, it's a story of Latino perseverance and how this guy went from being a janitor to a millionaire because he invented flaming hot Cheetos. And it's like, yeah, I mean that'd be cool if it was the truth, but it was not. So
There we
why is
go.
that nominated? I don't know.
Anyway,
That was weird.
original
Here
score.
we go. This one I think
Okay,
merits
okay,
more
good, good.
discussion.
So
Yeah, yeah.
so American Fiction. Interesting.
Interesting
Nice.
choice.
Okay.
Okay,
John Williams,
I'm
it's almost a
sorry. This
given.
is a legacy nomination.
Yeah.
Because
That would that would be the craziest thing ever if they
he
give this
went.
dude.
No shade on John. Man's a legend. We've all grown up. I think the last few generations have obviously grown up with this guy's music in our heads. But uh, come on, this compared to his other scores, this
Eh,
really was one of the weakest ones in a movie that was also just pretty
I'm not
forgotten
even
as
gonna
soon as
watch it.
yeah,
Even if it's on a plane, I'm not gonna watch it
it
because I just
was
don't care.
yeah, it's a movie where it was just not that good. Um,
Killers of the Flower
so
Moon. Okay, I didn't remember if it got nominated. I'm really happy it did
fantastic
because,
score, Robbie
like
Robertson,
I mentioned, it is the heartbeat of the film.
and it was his last score too.
That's true. Much in the way the score for Mank.
Yes,
That score
yes,
literally is propels it. It is the energy of that whole
yes.
film, in my opinion. And Killers of the Flower Moon.
And a good example of music uh underlining the emotions without pushing them on you, which we'll discuss in the next
And
nominee.
yeah, yeah, the track "They Shall Not Live Long" is absolutely beautiful. It's one of
That's
my
great. Yeah.
favorite individual tracks in a film score,
That was a great score.
except for Oppenheimer. There's a track called "Can You Hear the Music," which I think has been streamed like 100 million times now.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, that's track 2 on the album. That's the
So
one where the camera's panning over the university. I forget which one where he's at.
yes.
Yeah.
Now, okay, Oppenheimer. Um, it's a very good score. Um,
I think when it comes to Nolan, he's a curious director in that I think it depends so much on your own personal preferences. I think people that can't stand just nonstop music will not be happy with the nomination. Whereas I think people that are on his wavelength are like, of course, yeah, Ludwig's a genius and Oppenheimer is a
but
masterpiece.
you know
But
what's interesting? If we look at these scores, the only one that has a score with like main themes and stuff is John Williams because that's what he does. Killers of the Flower Moon a little bit with They Shall Not Live Long. That's a bit of a theme, but these other films are mostly great ambience.
well, and that's kind of been a trend anyway in film scoring. I think Williams is the last. I mean, there's a couple other composers still obviously composing under his influence, but I think Williams if we look at it just in terms of cultural criticism, Williams on there represents some of the last stand of film composing that was still highly influenced by romanticism
Hmm.
and romantic music trends. And obviously, that's faded away over the last few decades. Film scores are now extremely minimalist, and they're more about ambiance, and they're more about moods as opposed to sweeping gestures, unless it's, Marvel movies still have a little bit of that, but not too much. um Mission Impossible, those movies still have a lot of
You know
that.
what? Mission Impossible should have gotten a
That's
nod on
great
there.
score,
I mean,
great.
over John Williams.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. But I think again, it's because Williams represents that.
You know what should have been on there? 100%. Well, actually, two. For best score, Joe Hisashi for The Boy and the Heron.
Oh my
That was a
gosh,
huge
yes,
flub.
yes.
And then Rebel, which again, we're gonna beat this a dead horse. But some of those tracks, those hip hop tracks,
you know what? The fact that none of those were nominated for best song. Okay,
that actually makes me upset
how's
because
Flamin' Hot nominated and not Rebel for best song? Like, what's wrong with you guys?
I mean,
what is wrong
I
with you
can
guys?
from the top of my head, I can already think there's the one in the kebab shop at the beginning, then the one at the end that closes the
Yeah, come
film,
on.
and then of course the one from Joe Hisashi, that beautiful understated score. The fact that he isn't on there is insane. I mean, look, Poor Things, that's the last nomination. It's a very wacky, it's the most unique score,
It's a fun score.
but are you really telling me that you would go on Spotify and listen to that on your spare time over The Boy and the Heron?
Yeah, no, I mean,
No way,
I mean, no,
son.
yeah, not even close. I mean, my favorite track on Poor Things is the funky dance she does in that one cafe.
Yes.
That was cool. But yeah, but you know what? It's because we've lost. I've said this many times before. We've lost the the beauty of scores. It's interesting. There used to be scores, which is why John Williams is constantly being performed now in concert halls, and why Deutsche Grammophon keeps putting out John Williams stuff, because Williams, represents that composer where the music really could stand on his own as a beautiful piece of music. Uh, and we used to have composers like that. I'm thinking of James Newton Howard. I'm thinking of, even James Horner, Gabriel Yared. These were guys who were composing score. I mean, that's why people still love the score, even for a derided movie like The Village.
Or you know what? You know what a huge flub was? Across the Spider-Verse.
You're right.
What the hell? How was that? Like, I'm just kind of shocked to be like let's be real. The jazzy score from American Fiction was kind of cool, but like not in a million years would I thought that would have been nominated.
I'm sorry, but there are at least 5 or 6 songs in Spider-Man that should have been nominated.
The train chase? Are you serious?
Well, and in the song category, like, really? You guys really gonna nominate "Flaming Hot"?
Like those are huge. Those honestly, those are huge snubs in my opinion.
Over Spider-Man
For original score, the fact that Boy and the Heron, nothing. Across the Spider-Verse, nothing. For original song, the fact that Across the Spider-Verse and Rebel, nothing.
Yeah, and you know what? I know it might offend the snobby sensibilities of some, but yeah, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning had a way better score than anything in Indiana Jones. Past Lives had a way better score than Indiana Jones. Yeah, no, there's a bunch. I'm looking over at the list. You know what? Even the Napoleon score tried.
Gran Turismo was. I actually really like that score. Like, I'm just looking through my list now. Yeah, it's some strange choices. Now, for what I think they'll pick, Oppenheimer.
I agree. I think they're gonna go with Oppenheimer.
What I want to win is Killers of the Flower Moon.
Me too. I want Killers to win, but I think Oppenheimer is gonna take it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked if Poor Things comes in. just to get it.
That would be a huge upset.
That would be, I think so, but okay, I would bet if I was betting money, I'd bet on Oppenheimer.
Oh
But
my god. How did Hunger Games not get anything for original song or anything for score either? That's wild.
you know,
I'm just looking through my list. That's why these things are popping in my head now.
again, I think it's one of those weird situations where, and this sounds mean, but I'm only saying it to be mean to the Academy. They probably just don't consider it respectable enough, because even though Indiana Jones sucked, it's John Williams.
John
So
Williams.
he's an institution unto himself. The guy could score a Teletubbies movie, and they'll they'll nominate John
Hey,
Williams.
come on, make it happen.
Make it happen. You know what?
Eli Roth, let's go.
Although, you know what? I'm sure John would still write at least one gorgeous melody in there where it's like, man, it's a Teletubbies movie, but
the ballad of Tinky Winky.
yeah, exactly. So I think that's the only reason he's nominated for that movie, because he's an institute, and I don't think he scored anything else. I think that was it. I think that's all he's done. That's all
Pretty
he did.
sure.
If he had scored, Spielberg had nothing out this year, right? I think if he had scored Oppenheimer, then he would have been nominated for Oppenheimer. But since he scored Indiana Jones, that's okay. Hey, we got to give John his nomination.
So I think they're going to give it to Oppenheimer.
I do too. Yeah.
The two big upsets would be John Williams, just his Lifetime Achievement Award.
Yes.
Or Poor Things, which I think you're wrong. I think that's just so out there.
But
no way.
But I think that's why, though. I think they would give it to it just for
Poor Things would be a huge upset. John Williams would be like, okay, whatever.
No, right, yeah.
Not to underscore his achievements, but it's like,
but it would be a total legacy
giveaway.
Award.
So again, I want Killers to win, but they're going to give it to Oppenheimer.
I agree. I think it should be Killers, but I think Oppenheimer will take it.
Here we go. The next category. Remember how I said that there were two films that were on here for makeup and hairstyling, and they would make sense when we got there?
Well, and they're ironic in funny ways. So let's start with makeup and hairstyling, which I guess now they've changed the name. It used to just be best makeup. Now they're adding hairstyling into the.
I guess that makes that's fair enough.
Change. It's not the craziest change, but whatever. So the first two, let's just jump into this. The first two nominees are Golda and Maestro. Those of you who follow film gossip and film chatter know that Maestro, before everyone watched it and realized it's not that great, there was this huge controversy over Bradley Cooper putting on a nose prosthetic to look a little more like Leonard Bernstein. Now, if you know anything about Leonard Bernstein, you know the guy was Jewish. So there was this huge uproar over, is this anti-Semitic? Is this, what is this? Bernstein's family came out saying, no, it's not. We understand why he's doing it because, he's playing our dad, so he needs to look like him. And then it's nominated with Golda, which is a non-Jewish actress playing an Israeli prime minister with full prosthetics on to look like her. But of course, that one, no one complained because, it's a war movie with this ultra militarist figure as the subject matter.
What else he's trying to say is one is Zionist propaganda and the other one is just an ego stroke for Bradley.
Yeah, like it's easy to slam Bradley because he's playing a composer, right? He's playing a musician. So the only danger in that portrayal is really for homophobes who don't like the fact that Leonard Bernstein was bi. Whereas Helen Mirren is playing this extremely controversial figure who made many controversial statements that only now are kind of being reassessed. Palestinians don't exist, that sort of thing. And the movie is I didn't see Golda, but I know that the movie does take a slightly more critical view of not her, but about the fact that that Israel wasn't ready for the Yom Kippur War. So it's not an anti-war movie, but it is like, oh hey, they should have seen this coming sort of movie, without going into all the intricate reasons why the Yom Kippur War broke out. But it's just funny, they're both nominated when when this whole stupid thing about why is Bradley wearing a prosthetic nose?
Now,
Well,
what's wild to me is that Guardians did not get anything here.
that does shock me. Because look, let's be frank. The next nominee, Oppenheimer, um,
It's like, hey, do you know the 1940s and 50s?
well, and it's not like Cillian Murphy had to do that much to look
Killian,
like Cillian Murphy didn't have to do that much to look like the guy. Because Cillian Murphy already has the stare. He's got the bone structure in his face. What I mean, what, they grade his hair a little bit,
they gave some actors some old age makeup at the very end of the movie.
Even the guy who, what's his name? He's becoming a big deal now too. The guy who plays Edward Teller. It starts with an S. His last name.
Safdie, one of the Safdie brothers.
One of the Safdie brothers. Even he just kind of needed a particular haircut, but his face looked close enough to the real Edward Teller. And the only time you really see the makeup go more loco is during the ending of the movie, which who cares if I'm spoiling, because half the planet has seen this movie already. When they show Oppenheimer getting a medal from President Johnson, and everyone's just older, everyone's just elderly,
which
at that
is
point.
literally a five frame shot.
Yeah, and there's nothing that wild about the makeup that we haven't seen in any other period movie where they flash forward at the end. So yeah, how that got nominated over Guardians, I don't know. Guardians had amazing makeup. I'm just thinking of that scene where, oh man, you remember that scene where the bad guy's face gets like ripped off?
That and that whole planet of creatures. Those you understand, all of those were prosthetics.
Yeah, no CGI shenanigans.
I mean,
there,
that one is baffling. Now the next one totally makes sense. I'm Poor Things.
Poor Things, fantastic.
Now, before we get to actually Poor Things, and then the last one, Society of the Snow. That was I know what the movie's about, and I can probably see why it's there, but really?
Oh well, I'll put it this way. But first, on Poor Things, totally deserved. Especially Willem Dafoe, the way he's like the steampunk Frankenstein with oh my god, with that scarred face, and the way he burps his own bodily gases and that sort of thing. So that's cool. But no, Society of the Snow, I get it. Because that movie, what I really liked about the film is it's the kind of makeup work that makes you feel what being trapped up there in like below whatever the temperature is in the Andes, up in the peak of the Andes, is what it does to the human body. So you really get this wrenching sense of how your skin starts drying up and peeling, how your teeth start getting loose. And but it's not what I liked about the movie is it's not exploitative. It's not trying to show you just like something graphic for the sake of, it's more like
we'll talk about it in a minute. I'm waiting to see it. We're about to get a 4K TV, and I really want to see that in 4K because it's on Netflix. But because it's nominated for another category, you can just talk a little bit about it more there.
But I'll just say that it's got that kind of makeup work that's stark, and it's not. It actually carries the story forward.
So I haven't seen Golda, and I'm never going to see it. But gosh, this is a tricky one for me. I want Poor Things to win.
I think it will win, though.
Really? Over Maestro?
I think
I feel okay. So the one I want to win. So we both say Poor Things. The one now, let's do the one we think the Academy is going to choose. I think they might do it.
I don't know. I'm kind of leaning towards Poor Things because of what the movie is and the kind of a nomination it's gotten. It sounds goofy, but I think they would only give it to Maestro just to put a lid on on that whole or who knows. I don't know if the Academy hey, everyone knows LA, we have a big Jewish community, especially in the entertainment industry. I don't know if they want headlines the next morning to be like, "Oh, the Academy gave the the Academy gave the anti-Semitic nose an Oscar." So
Then why did they nominate it?
I don't, right? I mean, I don't know, but I mean, that's a good question. But I still think it will probably go to Poor Things just because it's going to be one of the dominant films of the night.
I disagree. As I said, I want Poor Things to win, and you're not. This is going to be unexpected.
Yeah.
I think they might give it to Society of the Snow. I think they might do that.
I would think it's a worthy winner, and I wouldn't be surprised.
That's going to be my hot take. I'm going to go against the grain. I think the way that they're thinking, kind of like what you said about Godzilla, the fact that it's on here and it's not in any other category except one, I think is kind of a big deal.
You're right. I mean, I think also because the category coming up next is its biggest nomination, but spoiler alert, I don't think it'll get it. But before we go into that, yeah, okay. I think Poor Things should take it, but it might go to either Society. I would still bet on Poor Things taking it, but I mean, yeah, you're not wrong. I also wouldn't be too shocked if Maestro got it, just because. Well, also because there is this tradition of awarding period films where someone's just playing a famous person.
Well, remember, Darkest Hour.
Yeah.
Got it.
Oh right, yes, Gary Oldman playing with. Or you know what? They might give it to Golda. Just because it's the middle of the road.
So what's your luck? I'm going to stand by Society of the Snow as a bit of a contrarian based on what you described. I'm going to say there are a few films I need to catch up on. One of them we're going to talk about in a minute, but Society of the Snow is one. The Peasants is another one.
I'm still thinking it'll go to Poor Things. But you know what? I'm going to go out on a limb here and say they might give it to Golda, just because it's a woman, right? It's this Israeli prime minister who's a woman, and it's not as controversial as Maestro. Yeah, unless they give it to Maestro as its only consolation prize.
That's the thing. Okay, so what's your lock?
Golda. I'm going to go on a.
But remember, we're thinking what the Academy will choose.
Exactly. What? I'm going to go with Golda.
Interesting. All right. I'm thinking outside of the box for the Academy. That's why I'm doing Society of the Snow.
It might even be their way of supporting the war.
It's true, but Golda. I could see what you're saying about Golda.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, international feature film.
Big category.
Now, I think there's a little bit of an upset here. There is one film on here which kind of shocking it's not on here. Anatomy of a Fall is not in this category.
It's not, which is why I'm still thinking it's going to win screenplay, because with all of the other nominations it got, it would usually just be a shoo-in for the best international film. Whenever there's a big foreign film that is raking up a lot of nominations and acclaim, the Academy tends to give it the best foreign film or best international film Oscar, and gives best picture to a title everyone recognizes, right? Like Oppenheimer. Sometime, good examples last year. All Quiet on the Western Front swept a lot of the technical awards, won best foreign film, and then best picture went to was that Coda? It's Coda last year.
No, Everything Everywhere.
Everything Everywhere.
The year before that was Coda, which is it's like a Saturday afternoon streamer. That was weird.
That was out of nowhere.
So international feature. This is an interesting category. So Zone of Interest. The Teacher's Lounge, which I'm hoping to see this week. It's one of the catch-ups. I don't know that much about it, but apparently does tackle a bit of the idea of cancel culture in classrooms.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
It stars one of the actresses from Babylon Berlin, not the detective, but I'm not going to spoil anything, but her friend who works for the police captain.
Yes, yeah. Okay. Oh,
Another
cool.
shout out for Babylon Berlin, one of the greatest TV shows ever made.
Gotta watch it. Waiting on season 4 if they can get
So
that licensing
that's the
thing
Teacher's
figured
Lounge.
out.
Now, the interesting thing is the Zone of Interest is a film about Nazi Germany, but it's apparently being submitted by the UK.
Oh well, because see, people are wondering what the hell. um, basically, let up. The simplest way to put it is the country that made the movie is the country that gets the nomination. So, I mean, you could make a movie in, Peru about Hitler, and and it'll be nominated
Fair
for
enough.
Peru.
So,
That's just yeah.
Zone of Interest, Teacher's Lounge, Society of the Snow, which I'm very much looking forward to seeing. Hopefully on that 4K TV. I don't know if we'll do something for the podcast, but that's what it is for now. Perfect Days, which
Vim Vendors, we caught that at Cannes
in
excellent
IMAX.
movie in IMAX. Excellent
I had
film.
some is not on here.
Oh well, because that's a documentary though. No, that should have been in the documentary category.
We'll have to find that in a minute. But
I think this was. But I think the Academy had 2 great Vim Vendors films to choose from, and for international feature, they were like, let's give it to Perfect Days. Which, funny enough, Wim Wenders, one of the great German directors, but it's going to the point we just made. It's actually representing Japan, because the film is set in. He filmed and shot it in Tokyo with Japanese funding.
Yes, but it is being submitted by Japan.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Zone of Interest is in German about Auschwitz, except it's being submitted by the UK.
But that's what I mean. So Zone of Interest was made by a UK company, and Perfect Days was made in Japan. So basically, again, you can globe.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So you can globetrot if you're making movies, and whoever. Well, Society of the Snow is representing Spain, but the whole movie takes place in
Uruguay,
in South America, in the Andes.
Fair enough. But it's about the Uruguayan.
Yeah, they were flying from Uruguay to Chile and crashed in the Andes. So it's South America, basically. It's Spain.
Another international film. Well, it's released whatever. Los Colonos.
You know what, though? I'm willing to bet it's because it's premiering. Oh no! You know what? My bad. It just didn't make the final cut. Chile submitted it, but it did not make the final cut. I remember now.
Another one, RMN.
Oh yes,
Christian Mungiu. My third favorite movie of the year.
Excellent Romanian film about the tensions of immigration and class in Eastern Europe, but another one that just I know it was submitted, it just didn't make the short list. So to clarify for audience members wondering what the hell we're talking about, countries submit movies to the Academy to be nominated for in this category, and so the Academy voters who vote in this category then narrow it down to a short list of movies, and then from that short list, they then select the 4 or 5 nominees in the category.
I wonder what else was on the short list. I think Godland was on a short list.
I think so. You can look it up online, but the movies we just mentioned, which are excellent, just didn't make that short list, so they were not in the pool.
Monster should have been on that list, but only one country. Monster is amazing.
Amazing movie. I liked it more than Perfect Days. I think Perfect Days is a great film, but I think in this case,
I concur. Well, Monster is my second favorite film of the year.
I think in this case, just clout. It's Wim Wenders.
Yeah. You know what? And the last film that I haven't seen, I think our good friend the Hodges saw, called, I don't know if it's Lo Capitano or Io Capitano, from Italy. I don't know anything about this.
I like the director a lot. He did an excellent movie I recommend to everyone called Gomorrah about the mob.
That guy. Yes. Okay.
He did another great one called Dogman that's also really cool. He makes very stark in your face movies about actual working class Italian life. So if you watch Gomorrah, for example, it's a mob movie, but it's nothing like these flashy gangster movies. I mean, it really is about the grime and the violence, and let's just say actual real Italian gangsters don't look anything like the Equalizer 3. They look like they could eat the guys in the Equalizer 3 for lunch.
Well,
so,
there you go.
yeah.
Well, speaking of Italy, not that it's international. Well, we can get to it later, but Michael Mann shut out from the Oscars.
Not Penelope got shut out, right?
Yeah,
She did not
well,
get
we're gonna get the best supporting
yeah.
actress. She got shut out over someone else, which is that one's
Really
absurd.
shocked.
But we'll get to that later. So
Although,
right now we're just talking
Mike,
foreign.
sorry, man. Not surprised that it was a nice return in the sense that you're still around, but we're waiting for your actual return, and we'll talk about that in our last episode of the Chronicles of Man. But yeah, Ferrari was not you on all cylinders, bro.
No,
Well, that was
we
not.
are against the grain
Yeah,
on that one.
yeah.
But for this international, I think they're gonna give it to Perfect Days. Oh, this is a tough one. I haven't seen
No,
Society of the Snow.
they're giving it to Zone of Interest, I think.
You think?
Yeah, because Zone of Interest is the most nominated of the bunch. It's the most acclaimed, and I think it'll be the pattern of, because it's also nominated for Best Picture, they're gonna give it Best International Film, and that'll be the consolation for not getting Best Picture.
Interesting.
Now, of course, I've been proven wrong before in these categories. I mean, the last 2
We
years
haven't
I've been
seen all of them.
I've
We
been
haven't
way
seen
off in
Teach-
documentary the last 2 years. So yeah.
To be fair, we also haven't seen Teacher's Lounge and Io Capitano. So, well, I hope to see Teacher's Lounge this week. Io Capitano, I don't know.
I bet my money on Zone of Interest. Now, which one would I prefer? Zone of Interest. I quite like it.
I'm gonna do something interesting. I'm personally gonna go Zone of Interest, but I'm gonna say Academy's going to pick Perfect Days.
Okay. I mean, that's a hard take.
That's my lock. Remember, we're gonna fill something out, at least between us, watching it as a party. We'll actually compete for a prize, but I'm saying Academy is gonna give it to Perfect Days. Zone of Interest is the one that I want to win.
Yes. No, I want Zone of Interest to win, and I think it will win just because of the weird politics. Film editing is next. Now this category is actually more important than people realize. A lot of times, not always, don't always take this as a given. A lot of times best editing also wins best picture. Not always. There have been some exceptions, especially when let's say a groundbreaking popular film was released. So for example, in 1999, The Matrix took editing, sound editing and stuff. It wasn't even nominated for best picture, but it was such an innovative movie that it swept those awards.
Those technicals.
Star Wars also won editing back in the day.
Bohemian Rhapsody also won editing.
Bohemian Rhapsody won editing.
Infamously.
I
just need to direct our viewers, or one viewer really, to the famous lunch scene. Just look it up.
Oh yeah.
It's worse than like a student film.
And that one, I think that one again was one of these, the Academy trying to show, hey, no, we're still hip. But it won it. But here though,
there's some. I'm actually happy. Well, yeah. You know what? I'm happy with all of the films.
Yeah,
nominated here.
None of them feel out of place.
So let's run it down. Anatomy of a Fall, which you gotta see. You gotta see it.
I gotta check it out.
Anatomy of a Fall. The Holdovers. You know what? I think The Holdovers is a perfectly paced movie. It might be the best paced film of the year, in my opinion. In terms of that, the flow is incredible. And the moment the credits roll, I'm like, oh, damn, that was 2 hours?
Oh, yeah. No. I thought that was a wonderfully paced film. The way it's not rushing, but it's also not slow. it was a
Its
wonderfully paced film.
tempo is incredible.
Killers of the Flower Moon,
The legendary Thelma Schoonmaker.
Schumacher, who's been Scorsese's editor with one or two exceptions, but she's been his constant editor since 1967. So
That's loyalty.
that's before some of your parents were born, or just when they were being born. So that's crazy. Yeah, Thelma's been with Marty for a long time, and it's a perfectly paced movie. I mean,
She's won before.
yes, I think she won for The Departed.
Was it wow?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think she won for The Departed. She might have won. She might have won for The Aviator. I don't think so.
Maybe nominated.
Because I know Aviator been nominated many times. Yeah,
I know Aviator got Best Supporting Actress, Best Cinematography, and a couple, maybe two more. But I remember those for sure.
But she has won before. I remember the first time she won, there was this beautiful shot of Marty looking like he was going to cry in his seat because he's worked with her for so long.
I mean, let's be real. She kind of makes his movies.
Yeah, no,
for better or for worse.
No, that's the perfect symbiosis of collaboration in cinema, where
post-production, it's like it basically rests on her shoulders.
Well, when you find a collaborator that really makes what you're doing happen, the same way there have been some directors that, I mean, it's with this particular DP that their work shines. Oliver Stone's work has not ever been the same since he parted ways with Bob Richardson. So this is these are perfect symbioses between artists. So Thelma, very well deserved.
Next one, Oppenheimer. I'm mixed on this.
Not me.
It has a particular style that didn't work for me all the time.
Okay, I'll put it this way. I've seen the movie 4 times. Don't ask how, people, but I've seen the movie 4 times. The 4th time because someone gave it to me for Christmas. Funny enough. Every time I've watched it, I'm not bored. Like the time just kind of zooms by for me. I don't know if I'm being biased because of personal interest in the subject matter or something, but
that's why I say it's mixed for me.
Yeah.
I need to watch it again. I've seen it once, but it's still stuck in my brain, so that's a good sign. My issue with the editing is it's same with the sound mixing. It's sometimes too overdone for its own good. What do I mean by that? I'm not going to go into this too much because we touched upon it on our Barbenheimer podcast episode. But my point is that the intensity of some scenes was enough to justify itself. Nolan, with his music and particular tempo for the editing, overdoes it. It basically, if you have this is my food analogy. If you have a really well-made dish, but then you decide to add too much hot sauce on it, where the dish is still good, but it's a little bit too much for the senses, that's why it's a bit mixed for me. It was never boring, but oftentimes a little bit self-indulgent.
Sure. No, and I won't totally disagree with that. I think, there's, especially with the sound, as we were talking about earlier, but I think in terms of the pacing and the rhythm of the movie, I think Nolan, for better or worse, something interesting that he achieved here was he takes this biopic, right? This theme that would be considered by the masses to be, I don't know, boring, artsy, or whatever, and found a way to pull it off with the rhythm and pacing of one of his blockbusters. And this one, of course, became a blockbuster.
Well,
but what
again,
I mean is,
for better or for worse, all his movies, I will admit, can be self-indulgent in that way. It's like, let the scene breathe. That's what I mean.
Of course, it's his style. I mean, it's who he is.
But that's the thing that I found interesting. It sometimes worked in Oppenheimer, and other times it's like, no.
I mean, I liked how they would cut from Oppenheimer kind of being in his own headspace to whatever atoms or neutrons bouncing around.
No, that's what I mean. But I just mean in some of the intense dialogue situations.
Oh, sure.
It's too much.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Well, the infamous interrogation in the 3rd act where they're badgering him, and the soundtrack sounds like the screen is gonna rip apart or something.
Strange.
Yeah,
But that's Oppenheimer. We've talked about it.
yeah.
Funny enough, even though it's not, I thought it was very good. It's not on my best list of the year. It's probably the film we've talked about the most this year, right next to Los Colonos.
I think people go see it. It's also the Settlers for you non-Espanol
It's
speakers.
in
It's
and if you're in Los Angeles, it's at the Lemley.
it's at the Lemley.
It's an hour and 37 minutes, and it's amazing.
Keep it at your local art house spot wherever you are. It's definitely worth checking out. It's just fantastic. And then
Poor Things.
Poor Things.
Yay!
Yeah,
Well, you know what? Again, it's not my favorite movie, but I respect so many elements about it.
And you know, superior to Oppenheimer in the same way Oppenheimer works, which is it's a longish movie, but it's never boring. Like the editing creates this great rhythm and this great pace where before you know it, you're already at the end. I've seen Poor Things twice, and it always felt like both times it felt like, oh hey, we're here already. And that's how I feel with Oppenheimer. The 4 times I've seen it, I'm like, oh wait, we're already here in the story.
That's 12 hours.
That's 12. And Poor Things has that too. It's got a great, you know what the trick is with these movies sometimes, with editing, for better or worse with Oppenheimer, and then in a much better way in Poor Things, none of the scenes are wasted. Something is happening in every scene that carries the story forward. Boring movies, it's like they run out of things to say, and the director just kind of meanders, and
we've talked about this a lot. Slow burn is not the same as boring. Slow burn, which is not necessarily Oppenheimer, but just in general, slow burn means that there's an intensity throughout the whole film, but something extraordinary isn't happening. The puzzles take time to come together. Boring is it comes at night where nothing is happening, and the director says, it's this postmodern thing where the director says, oh, but everything's happening. It's like, no, big dog, you're just not doing anything at all. Come on.
Well, a great example for TV is Better Call Saul. That's a perfect example of slow burner.
That is a hot take. You are one of the few people, but I'll let you cook. I'll let you cook.
It's a slow burner?
No, but I know you're not. I mean, you're not the biggest fan of it.
Oh,
right?
no. Oh, yes, yeah. For me, it's a hot take because I preferred Breaking Bad to Better Call Saul. I know that's not the popular opinion these days, but I think Breaking Bad is a way better show. But Better Call Saul is very much, it's a slow show. I mean, the episodes they take their time. The editing doesn't rush. Scenes carry on and on. Sometimes an episode may feel like it was one whole scene, but each of those scenes is still contributing something to the story, is contributing something to the plot. A boring movie, just nothing happens. The director just kind of run out of gas and is just going to fill in space with, I don't know.
Well, they put the intention on the audience.
Yes.
That the audience has to extract all meaning. It's like, guys, that's not how it works. But anyway, that is the editing list. So, what I want to win. Oh, this is interesting. This is tough, actually. What do I want to win? Holdovers. What I think will win. Either Killers or Oppenheimer. I'm a 50-50.
It's a tough one. I love Holdovers. I kind of would.
Ooh, I'm going to turn on some lights. Give me a second.
I have to watch Holdovers again, but I really I loved it. I kind of want Poor Things to take it, but I think it'll be Oppenheimer. I think Oppenheimer. I think it's gonna go to Oppenheimer. It'd be great if they gave it to Thelma, but I kind of think this is going to be a an Oppie year.
An Oppie sweep.
I think Oppie's going to take that one.
Look at you, Opp and homie.
I
So
think
what did I say? So I'm going to cop out. I'm saying if it's going to be a 50-50 toss up. Between
it's tricky. It's going to be between Killers and Oppenheimer, but I think Oppenheimer is going to edge it out.
But I'm going to personally say Holdovers, which is a hot take. You said personally what?
Poor Things.
Poor Things.
Although I love Holdovers, they're almost tied actually
Okay.
in terms of my preferences.
So that's where we're at with editing. And hey, nice to see Anatomy of a Fall on there for sure. Again, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. Documentary,
short
film, and feature film. I'm gonna read them off, but I don't know. I know. Well, we'll get to it in a minute for feature.
I
but
see one of these, and I'll clarify. Well, let's just read through them, and then we'll. But for feature documentary,
short. So the ABCs of book banning for short film. Okay, The Barber of Little Rock, Island in Between, The Last Repair Shop. I'm so sorry. I do not know how to pronounce this. I think it might be Vietnamese.
Oh.
Nai Nai and Waipo.
I haven't seen any. So congrats, guys.
Okay, documentary feature. No Anselm, sadly.
Yeah, what the heck?
But there's 20 Days in Mariupol, which is going to win.
Yes, and it's supposed to be amazing in terms of just giving you an inside look at the front lines of the Ukraine war. But I can't say anymore because I haven't seen it. So I'll peep it.
I haven't seen any of these. To Kill a Tiger. Okay.
No.
Oh, David Oppenheim.
Yeah.
4 Daughters. I've heard of this.
As have I, but I have not seen any of these.
There's one just called The Eternal Memory, which does not have anyone's name attached to it.
Which is shocking because it's Pablo Larraín.
What?
Yeah, it's a documentary. I don't know the specifics, but it's a documentary about memory loss by Pablo Larraín.
Are you serious?
It's Pablo Larraín. Yes. I barely found out about this a couple of days ago.
Wow. By the way, El Conde, I don't know if it was shortlisted, but it did not make it, as you could tell.
Oh wow! I think that one was one of those that just also left people like, "Okay, what?" Like,
yeah,
what?
I agree. All right, and then Bobby Wine, the People's President. Again, look, I'm just gonna pick one because I think I know the Academy. I'm just gonna say the Ukraine one.
I think it's gonna be 20 Days in Mariupol as well. They already did it. Was it last year where they out of nowhere they gave best documentary to that Navalny documentary? But I think at this point,
Navalny, who's disappeared, right?
No, he's still in jail. He's just
I thought he. Oh, wow.
Well, they I think they've just kept him in isolation, so he can't.
There you go.
But I think as long as the war is going on, anything that's for the cause will. Anyway,
all right,
so
now we're into the heavy duties. Ooh. Meaning the big kahunas. This is the one that everyone is going to lose their mind on, even though in retrospect, I would say 25,000 people being killed in Gaza is a little bit more important.
No, exactly.
Or people in Congo and Sudan. But, again, to each their own, even if you're wrong. Best director. I actually have not looked at this. So this is the first time I'm seeing this.
Oh, wow.
Justine Triet for Anatomy of a Fall.
Which is
yes.
Which is already causing a stir because Greta Gerwig was not nominated. And so
to that, you know what I'm going to say about that? Guys, you need to watch more movies. I'm really sorry, but you really need to go out and expand your horizons, because if you think that counts as the best director or gets a nomination for that, it's not. It's really not.
It's tricky. I expected her to get nominated out of sheer commercialism, but it's nice to see the Academy stuck to its guns. And so Justine Triet for Anatomy of a Fall, then Marty, Big M for Killers of the Flower Moon,
Chris Nolan,
Oppenheimer. The other two also not surprising at all. Yorgos Lanthimos for Poor Things,
and Jonathan Glazer. This is, look, I've seen all of these. I think all of them deserve it. And I'll be the first one to admit, even though I wasn't the biggest fan of Poor Things, that man directed the fuck out of that
No,
movie.
Yorgos is amazing. He's a
But
fantastic.
my my personal pick is a tie. Again, I'm sorry, I'm copping out. Either Justine Triet for Anatomy of a Fall or Jonathan Glazer. That's my 50-50 split.
My personal pick would also be Glazer for Zone of Interest.
Really?
I think what he made with that film. I love Yorgos. I'm a big Yorgos fan. I've loved him especially since The Lobster. But what Glazer did with Zone of Interest is so important, and it's so unique, and piercing. He again, less is more. He did something with a house and a garden that says so much more than anything Chris and Yorgos did, even though they're both amazing directors. Well, they're both fantastic directors. Uh, However, I think it's Nolan's year. I think this is going to be the first. I think this is going to be
Your personal pick is Glazer, but you think Academy is going to Nolan?
I think this is where Nolan. I think it's one of those kind of Spielberg moments where the guy's been building up to finally getting a serious Academy Award, and I think this is the perfect. It's almost like it's a now if not now when moment for Nolan. He's made all these movies that have become big pop culture staples and have set trends and influenced everybody. I mean, we have him to thank for film scores becoming a drone basically since the
And that
Batman
whole
days.
craze of making films dark and gritty.
Yes, exactly. And we have, I mean, heck, after Inception, everyone's been trying to copy
including Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah. Oh my, yeah. Hey, where's
Come on,
come on, guys! You didn't give him at least.
So I'm a lot of these I gotta have to cop out a bit because it really just is 50-50. For me, personal, as I said, Justine Triet and Jonathan Glazer. But what I think the Academy will go, and for equally valid reasons, even split Martin or Chris.
Funny enough, I'm just so sure it's going to be Chris, unless what the dark horse is for me, that they might forego giving any of the dudes one and give it to Justine Triet.
Because I think we all know what Best Picture is.
Yes.
I think we're both locked on what. There's no chance in hell it's going to be anything else but the one film we'll get to.
Yeah, I mean, now.
No, I think Justine Triet, she made an excellent film. I promise this is not me being facetious or anything like that. However, she is the only woman on that list, and I don't think they'll give it to her.
It's weird. It's weird. It's a tricky one, but I
think they would give it to Martin. I mean, because he's old, I don't think he would ever have another chance to win that award.
I mean, he did for Departed.
Yeah, but Killers.
It's a more important. Yeah, it's definitely a more important film. But I don't know. It kind of just feels to me like they're gonna. I think Marty could be I think Marty's definitely the second choice, but it just feels to me like we're gonna end up with this being Nolan's first biggie. And I think
you think he'll take director and picture?
Yes, I think it's gonna be his night. It's been building up to that with the big
Interesting.
with the Globes, a lot of the critics nominations.
You know what? No, you're right. You know what? I'm changing 50-50. I think I hear what you're saying. I'm gonna do a lock with Nolan, but I'm not gonna. I will say a second is Marty for the reasons I just said.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be shocked. I think it's Marty second, Triet upset. Basically, I think it's between.
You know what? I agree.
Yeah, I think it's between Nolan and Marty, and
for the way the Academy thinks. Again, my personal tie is Triet or Glazer.
Yeah, I'm for Glazer, but yeah, I think
if Glazer won, the Nolan fanboys are gonna
You got rioters
They're
that are,
gonna tear his limbs apart. But anyway, that's directing. Now, costume design,
see, it's Barbie,
which again, it's pretty much
Killers of
exactly
the
the
Flower Moon.
same as production design.
I think they'll give it to Poor Things.
So again, let's just read it down.
Yeah.
Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. For me, easily costume design. I didn't even have to finish that list to tell you I want Poor Things to win
Yes.
costume.
And I honestly think it will.
No, I think they're going to give it to Barbie.
Really?
I think that's where they're going to lean. I think they're giving Barbie production design and costume, even though I think Poor Things deserves both of those over it.
I'm almost leaning towards they're gonna try to spread the wealth and give Barbie something, and then they'll give Poor Things like costume. I think it's
No,
one of
because
those
they
things.
always those are two peas in a pod. I mean, those are almost inextricably
Mm.
linked. I think if one gets it, I know what they're gonna do. They're gonna give it to Barbie. They're gonna give it to Barbie, even though I want Poor Things to win.
Oh, I'm still gonna be risky and say Poor Things OT. Also, because period films have a funny tradition of dominating this category, and
Barbie's too high
you know,
profile. I know what you're saying, and I
yeah,
know what you're saying, and I'm telling you, my personal picks for both production and costume is
Poor Things.
Poor Things. But I think they're gonna give it to
Uh,
Barbie.
okay.
I'm gonna be disappointed, but I know that's what they're gonna do. Cinematography. We got some interesting ones here.
Uh,
El Conde.
uh, I'm surprised. I thought the photography was the best feature of that film. But to go so far as to nominate it, I wouldn't be surprised if there's just a bit of Netflix influence there, and they just knew who to screen it for, and they knew how to arrange those screenings. But okay.
Then Killers of the Flower Moon. Rodrigo Prieto. Amazing work.
Fantastic.
Maestro, this is the only thing I'll give it for. It looked pretty good.
Yeah, well, this is the one nomination where I'm not surprised with Maestro, because Matthew Libatique, who's been known for his work with Darren Aronofsky and shot Cooper's debut as a director, A Star Is Born, he's got a great eye, and it's a movie where if you can just shut off the sound or not pay attention to Bradley Cooper's mumbling, yeah, it's a visually well composed film, but that's kind of, yeah.
And then next we have Hoyt van Hoytema for Oppenheimer.
Hoyt van Hoytema,
Um,
who's been lensing every Nolan film since Interstellar, so
and
not
then
surprised.
Poor Things. Now, okay. My hot take, Academy gives it to Poor Things. Without a doubt.
Now,
Without a doubt. With that, not of all the films we've seen, but of the ones nominated, Poor Things by far has the best use of cinematography in style where it complements the surreal elements. It is so unique. It's so beautiful. I want it to win, and I also think the Academy they're going to give it to Poor Things.
now, Nolan has won in this category before. Dark Knight famously lost in the cinematography category, and then the Academy gave it to Inception. Inception ended up winning cinematography. I think that's the only time he's won cinematography. I don't know. I think he's just been nominated since then. I agree on Poor Things, and that's my personal pick. I, however, wouldn't be shocked if they give it to Oppenheimer, because it's also it's shot on 70 millimeter. It's this made for IMAX spectacle around the life of this scientist. So I think because of scale, they'll give it to Oppenheimer, but I prefer Poor Things.
I would have normally agreed with you that Hoyt van Hoytema finally gets his Oscar win. I think, right? He hasn't won an Oscar. He's been nominated for
He's
sure.
been nominated, but I don't think he's
Never won. Okay.
Yeah.
However, the reason that I think it's Poor Things, let's just say for that Poor Things loses in costume, production, and makeup. This is the chance where the Academy can acknowledge Poor Things. Because remember, I want Poor Things to win all of those categories,
Yeah.
but I think the Academy's going to give it to Barbie. I think the Academy would acknowledge Poor Things by giving it to cinematography. That's my lock.
I don't think you're off, but I think the cinematography win will pave the way towards the best picture. I think it'll be like one of those where it's like, okay, best picture.
What you're saying makes sense, and that's my number 2. But based on our picks on what the Academy will choose, I think that's how they might swing it. Now, an
Hot
upset,
take, but yeah.
I think an upset would be Killers.
Yes, I think. Well, frankly, I think that's the only upset. I don't think the other two have any chance in hell. I don't think they're gonna give El Conde. Also, because I think a lot of the audience will be like, "What's that?
What's that? What the hell?"
Like, what?
Yep.
What movie is this?
But that's cinematography. That is cinematography. Next, animated feature.
Oh my gosh,
Boy and the
yeah.
Heron. We've talked about. We've done an
great-
episode on
The
it.
great Miyazaki.
I still can't believe Score wasn't nominated. That's insane. Elemental. Okay.
Why? Well, we know why.
At least it's not Wish.
Yeah.
Nimona, which I haven't seen, but I've heard.
I've not seen that either, but I hear good things.
Robot Dreams. I have heard of this, and I don't think it's been released in the States yet.
I've also heard of it, not seen it. And yeah, I think you're right. I think it's one of those that's probably screened for Academy members. They've done Academy screenings, but it's not in wide release yet.
Now, do you know if The Peasants was shortlisted for animation?
That I don't know.
I think international it was.
And then it probably just didn't make the list. Yeah, yeah. I don't know if it was sent for animated.
Which we hope to see soon.
It just hasn't made that much of a splash either. Good movies that just kind of get lost.
I'm
in
super
the mix.
excited for it. And then the last one. Now I know no one's heard of this, so we need to do a lot of explaining. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. So look, we only saw this in just a downtrodden theater.
It was
we joke, but our debate, I don't think those other films, sorry. Our big debate is Boy and Heron or Spider-Verse. We're gonna start with what the Academy will pick.
I think they're gonna go for Boy and the Heron.
And this is where we disagree.
Yeah,
I think they're giving it to Spider-Verse because of, I mean, it's a insane technical feast. It's one of my favorite films of the year. I think it's spot 5 or 6.
See, here's the thing. I think in a funny way, it's a close call because both films were not nominated in other categories where you expected them to be nominated. And I'm talking about, for example, in the case of Spider-Verse score.
Actually, both of those films did not get score.
In song. Spider-Verse didn't even make it into the song category. Had it made it into the song category, I would have said, oh, what's going to take, score and then whatever. But same thing happened with Boy and the Heron. I still think Boy and the Heron will take it because it's funny enough. The Academy has a bit of a short memory, but Boy and the Heron has really made such an impact in animation in terms of the audiences it's garnered, the respect it's been gaining. Whereas Spider-Verse really was a summer film that, astounded people. And then it got mired in a bit of controversy as well. Now they've had to push back part 2 till who knows when. It was supposed to come out next month.
Wow.
Now it's been pushed back to who knows where. I wouldn't be shocked if the Academy is going to save the Oscar for part 2.
Interesting.
And here's another reason. They already gave the first Spider-Verse the Oscar.
But remember, these are the same people that just de facto gave Disney Pixar Oscars for like a decade.
Yeah, but that number 1 is Disney. Number 2, it's not sequels, right? It's not like it would be quite a feat if every single Spider-Verse flick wins an Oscar,
Mm.
right? The best animated film Oscar. I'm not saying it can't happen. Crazier things have happened in the world, so I'm not saying it's
So
impossible.
this is where I disagree. So this is just Academy. I think Academy is going to give it to Spider Verse. My personal pick, Boy and the Fucking Heron.
I think because
That was one of the best movie theater experiences I had in 2023.
astounding, yeah. But I also suspect they'll give it to Boy and the Heron as a way of giving Miyazaki his due as well. I don't know if that's a bit too romantic on my part, but I kind of think they're going to want to honor the man as well. Whereas the Spider Verse guys, as far as everyone's concerned, they're a bunch of jerks. I don't know. I have no
Well, we'll
idea.
see.
I
Now, the
don't know.
big upset, Elemental, that would be a scandal.
I just see no point. How? How could that
I
win?
hope
Like,
not, but I really want Boy and the Heron to win.
if that wins that'd be really
I
good.
think I think they're going to give it to Across the Spider Verse, but I hope I'm wrong because Miyazaki and Toshio Suzuki. Let's go. Now, okay, we are now into the final 5. Let's do
Almost
Best
there.
Actress in a Supporting Role. Now we are going to start off with the controversy right away. America Ferrera somehow made it onto the Oscar nomination list. Why?
I
Why?
I think it's just a case of politics. I think there was too much of an outcry over well, it's weird, right? I remember when the film came out, there was all this chatter about why was Margot Robbie getting more attention than her. And for her, I mean, she's fine in the role, but I wouldn't say it's Academy
Dude,
worthy.
not even close. Not
I
even
mean,
close. That one is just whack.
yeah,
So
that made yeah. Funny enough, and this might be a hot take for some viewers. I mean, I thought Ferrera's big speech at the end was one of the movie's weakest points. That was actually a moment where the movie gets too on the nose, too as if it has to like ring into the viewer what the
and
movie is
remember,
about.
this movie it's not that deep to begin with. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
weird. Now I'll run down the other ones. Emily Blunt in Oppenheimer.
not
Not
surprised.
surprising. I actually thought her role as Kitty is very interesting.
Which is very well written.
I have not seen the new Color Purple.
I'm a bit well. I think this was kind of a consolation nomination because the Color Purple, the big musical update of the Alice Walker book, which was famously filmed by Steven Spielberg in 1985, uh, it didn't make the splash they were hoping for. The studio was hoping for. It actually did not do that great at the box office. It kind of just disappeared. I thought it was a good musical, not a great one. I thought it was, a worthy update in musical form of that story. But you know what? The only other thing I'll say about that movie is Hollywood. Stop copying Lin Manuel Miranda. Just stop. I think the world of musical theater has to get beyond that guy's style, but that's for another podcast. And then
We already
Ferrera's
did.
Barbie.
So weird. Jodie Foster Naiad. I haven't seen it.
I was pleasantly surprised here, although I'm kind of conflicted because I think she's the least interesting part of that movie, to be honest.
Well,
Jodie Foster,
once we get into
yeah,
leading role,
but Naiad was just goes to show the pull of Netflix too, because I really enjoyed the movie, but it didn't get all that much of
no,
attention. Yeah,
I only know about it because you told me about it.
yeah, I didn't even know what it was until I had to see it. And for those of you who don't know what it is, it's a good Netflix drama about a professional swimmer who decides to swim from Cuba to Florida. And kind of like Society of the Snow, it's a good film that shows you the sheer physical toll of the endeavor. And you really get an insight into the training, the stress, basically what it takes to pull off what she's doing in the movie. So Jodie Foster plays the partner slash basically trainer of Naiad, who's the movie's named after the main subject. And it's a very good role. Jodie's, yeah, I mean, hey, she's an old pro,
She's great
it,
in True Detective Night
Night
Country.
Country. If you check our
Uh,
updates on that show,
yes, we're gonna
she's
cover
really good.
episodes 5 and 6.
Soon,
I
yeah.
think I don't know, either end of this week or early next week. And then our last one, not only is she my lock, but I think the academies are going to give it to her. Divine Joy Randolph in The
Yes,
Holdovers.
best, yeah.
Amazing, amazing, amazing.
I'm just gonna say it's my personal pick, and I think it's the one they're gonna go for.
I think it's the
So
lock.
that one's locked.
With
Yeah,
all
she's so
due
good.
respect, I think giving it to anyone else will be an upset.
Yeah. I think the only possible upset here is Emily Blunt. But
I could see that.
I think it's gonna be a holdovers category all the way. I think
It's hers.
Yeah, it's hers.
My personal and lock. I think I'll say probably the same about supporting, but let's run down the list. Sterling K. Brown in American Fiction, very well deserved.
Very well deserved. He's fantastic in the film. Nice to see him finally moving beyond This Is Us. So very good role. Bobby.
Bobby. Honestly, one of his best roles in quite a while.
Killers of the Flower Moon.
Another Bobby.
Good
old Iron Man and Oppenheimer. Ryan Gosling and Barbie.
I mean,
okay.
Expected.
Yeah.
Mark Ruffalo and Poor Things.
I did not think he was that great. That's my hot take. I'm sorry. No.
I thought he was great.
The accent was just too ridiculous. No.
What's supposed to be ridiculous?
No.
He's riffing on the Victorian Casanova, right?
He didn't need the accent for that. No.
It's so funny. That accent is so funny. You
not
will
convinced.
Never have a better lover than me.
I think he was one of the weaker elements. That's my hot take. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we can go on that forever. But my personal pick, it's a tricky one. Because I like them all, but honestly, if it was up to me, I'd give it to to Brown, just because it's nice to see him growing as an actor, and I really liked him in the movie. I really like the movie in general. But maybe this is a hot take. I don't know. I think they're gonna give it to Robert Downey.
I don't think that's a hot take at all. And you know what? I mirror you exactly. I actually, my personal pick, it used to be Robert Downey, but after seeing American Fiction, which I liked, you liked it more than I did. I thought it was quaint and but I really like Sterling K. Brown in that movie.
Brown was so good.
That's my personal pick. I think Downey's going to take it, and I think the upset of the Oscars would be giving it to Sterling K., even though he's excellent.
Okay, yeah, I wish that would be the upset, but honestly, I think the real upset would be
Bobby.
Would be Gosling.
Oh, really? Not Bobby?
No. I think Killers has just lost steam recently in terms of Oscar momentum. I think the wacky thing, like an upset, we're talking about wacky upsets, would be to give it to Gosling.
Well, that would just be a farce. I mean, that would really just be a farce at this point.
Yeah. Now, also, now, funny enough, I think the nominations make sense because he did steal the show from Margot Robbie in that movie. I've always felt he really
but in terms of Academy quality, I don't know, dog.
Well, that's why I consider that.
I mean, the guy. I mean, are you telling me the guy from Past Lives didn't deserve?
Of course,
like, are you serious?
Of course he did. But I'm just saying, the Academy does some wacky things sometimes, and they.
Dude, even Kiefer Sutherland.
I agree. I'm not disagreeing. Well, but I mean, no one was ever going to nominate Kiefer for the.
Oh, but by the way, rewinding to costume and production design for a second, I want to give one big upset, as in that it wasn't even considered at all, was Wonka.
Oh, you're right.
To be quite honest, it kind of should have gotten a little love.
Yeah, I think it was just seen too much as a candy dessert for Christmas. I think it was
It
just
was
seen
a
too much.
charming film. I liked
Very
it more than I
charming,
thought.
but I think it was just
But
seen as just like a like a charming good
since
time.
I just saw the list,
But I'm still, but I think, yeah, I think if we were choosing Sterling, you'd be getting the
that
Oscar.
would be awesome.
But I think Iron Man is
He's getting it.
is getting it. Yeah.
Well, remember that one year where they thought that Sly was gonna get the Oscar? He won every other award, and then they gave it to Mark Rylance. I'll never forget that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You never know what wacky things will happen these days with the Academy. And I frankly thought Stallone did deserve it. I thought
I agree.
Yeah, I thought he did a great job.
All right, we're in the last three, guys.
Here we go.
I think pretty much at this point we're at a lock for everybody.
Yes.
Actually, almost a lock. But yeah, pretty much a lock. But we'll still go through it anyway. Best Actress, top to bottom, from reading, not our personal picks. Annette Bening and Nyad.
Which is the nomination I think the movie does deserve, because Annette Bening is, if you think you've seen her forever now in movies, in this one she really proves that at her age she can take on a physically demanding
you know what
role.
I kind of want to check it out now. You've kind of convinced me, to be honest.
I won't spoil too much, but I mean, you feel how, like, let's say swimming through salty waters for hours will fuck you up. I mean, it's very good. Yeah.
Next one, I think we already know.
No, yeah.
Lily Gladstone in Killers of the Flower Moon.
No surprise there.
Now, okay. Well, once I find it, okay. Sandra Hüller in Anatomy of a Fall. She could have been nominated for that and Zone of Interest, which she was at BAFTA.
Yes, that's true. Yes.
Amazing performance. You got. I know you're busy today, but like tomorrow or what, you gotta watch Anatomy of a Fall.
Do you have a screener?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I will take it home then. I will peep it tomorrow, because tomorrow. Yeah, that's it. The only thing I got to watch tonight is some stupid Ian McShane movie called American. I'm sorry, Ian, if you're watching, but it looks like shit. And it's some straight to streaming thing he's doing. Well, yeah, I think it's like a straight to sort of those, actors reaching a certain point in their career start doing these weird. Everyone's trying to be Liam Neeson, right? So it looks like one of those things where Ian McShane is like. Even the poster is him just like in a trench coat standing on a hill, and you're like, okay, and I get what you're doing. Okay, bro. So if you give me the screen, I'll watch it tomorrow for sure.
Then next, Carey Mulligan and Maestro. I get it, but also
okay. Look, to be fair to Carey, to me, she was the anchor of the film. She was the one person I cared about while watching the movie. Caring in the sense that, okay, I could follow her character a little more and could see, like, okay, you married this dude who is having affairs with other men. I'm just
gonna translate for Alcy. Carey Mulligan actually tried to do something with the material.
Yes, exactly.
And that's it. And by the way, that transatlantic accent she put on, the real wife, the real Felicia, she actually did talk like that.
Oh yeah, no, exactly.
So, but
when people try to explain you can't understand Bradley because he's got to sound like Bernstein. Like, no, Bernstein was pretty comprehensible.
It's Bernstein.
Not
Bernstein.
I think people use both.
No. Bernstein Bears, not Bernstein. Bernstein. If you were in New York, you'd be crucified for that.
Oh my gosh! I mean, Leonard Bernstein. I think when he's trying to sound like Leonard Bernstein, he's just mumbling. Whereas Carey Mulligan actually pulls off the role very well.
And then the last one is Emma Stone in Poor Things.
So I loved Emma Stone in the movie. I think she's fantastic. I think she does a wonderful job bringing to life this character. I think it's a playful role, full of a lot of life. But if we're going to get into our preferences, okay, you know what? I will go out on a limb. I prefer Emma, but I think Lily's going to take it.
I think Academy is going to give it to Lily, but my pick is Sandra Hüller.
Oh yes, that makes sense because I haven't seen the movie, so
I'm gonna
so
give it to
I
Sandra
I
Hüller.
might be I would have maybe changed my vote if I'd seen it, but
Now,
yeah.
I think the upset would be giving it to Emma Stone for the Academy.
Yes,
That would be the big upset of the night
I think yeah, I agree with you. I think Emma would be the upset.
because she won supporting actress for La La Land, didn't she?
Yes. Did she win for La La Land?
I think so.
Emma Stone. Oh, did she? Let me see.
Let's
Let's
double
double
check.
check that now. Now that we're live, people can
Hey,
see we
this is why
do.
we're doing a live stream. It's cash, baby.
Emma Stone. Yes, you're right. Yeah, she won for La La Land. Why I don't know, but hey, and Trump just won New Hampshire. No surprise there. I just got the little ping. Speaking of
There we
voting,
go.
but yes, you're right. Yeah, she won. Yeah, she won for La La Land. Okay,
So I think that's where it's gonna go. I
she's been nominated many times too, including for Birdman back in
Oh
2014.
yes, I forgot about that.
But okay, cool.
So I think that's what they're gonna do.
I think then you know what? Most likely they'll give it to Lily. The momentum is there. It would be historic because she would be the first Native American actress to win it. She's the first Native American actress to be nominated in this
Yep.
category.
Just
Uh,
taking every other award.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
and
but
she's
yeah,
really good in the film. I mean, I
yeah.
love the performance. I
There's some
love.
people we know who disagree, but I
I
get
love
what you're
that
doing.
scene
To
where
me,
she's with Leo and she's like, "Coyote wants money,"
yeah.
and she says it with that great smile, like, "I know what you're really about." And if you've seen the movie, you know what Leo's all about in that film. But
I like money. I'm actually surprised he didn't get a single anything.
I
I would have given that as the that little sprinkle nod, you know?
I think the movie's just, you know what? It's kind of a crammed year, and now that we're going to go into actor, we'll kind of see how the Academy has been kind of trying to. I think they're also worried about these accusations of not being diverse enough. So I think going into the next category, you see a little more of that spread
No,
out.
this is a very interesting one. First one, fuck him and everything he does. I hope Bradley Cooper. I hope Maestro gets shut out of
You know
everything.
what? I've just nothing personal against you, Bradley, in case you hire us for anything, but but I frankly have not bought into him since he did that atrocious piece of war propaganda, American Sniper.
Oh yeah, I saw that in IMAX.
I ever since that I've just, I'll be honest, I did not dislike A Star Is Born. I actually kind of just enjoyed it as a soapy, like a melodrama, but I didn't think it.
This should he. You know what? He should have been nominated for a Razzie. Which, for anyone who didn't get it, we'll end with Razzies to have a laugh because those are funny. But Maestro, get out of here.
Yeah, what? Why? Yeah.
I've heard some buzz about Coleman Domingo in Rustin.
I saw the movie. I enjoyed it. I think his nomination is well deserved. You know what? It's one of those performances that elevates the material because the screenplay is, kind of a by the book biopic. It's produced by the Obamas. It's a very kind of safe political flick, but I did like how his performance captures this idea of a little known civil rights figure who was actually very essential to the March on Washington, and the fact that he was a gay Marxist. So, which tells you something about why he's not mentioned as readily as everyone else involved in the "I Have a Dream" speech. So, the performance gives this nice idea of how these movements, like the civil rights movement, within the movement, there's the popular image we have of these movements, but inside the movement, you have like the radicals, the guys who have a more radical approach versus the more tempered, middle of the road politicians. So basically, Martin Luther King in the movie represents uh, the more moderate activist, and Rustin is the more radical revolutionary. And so you see them clashing and eventually working together, and that was cool. That was interesting. And Coleman was fantastic in the role. So props to him.
Paul Giamatti in The Holdovers.
Oh man, okay, very excellent performance. If you guys saw the movie, you know what we're talking about. It's like he's updating the character from Sideways, but with a little more edge, a little more cynicism, and at the same time a little more warmth, which is hard to pull off. He's a guy who's losing hope, but deep down he's got a warm heart, and it's great. You know, the way he it's a character, the way he defends himself against the disappointments of life through his passion for the classical world. So think about it as, you know, hey, you know, life is disappointing, so I need to face it with the edge of a Roman, you know, with the courage of an ancient Roman. But I'm not bullshitting. I'm serious. You know, like I'm the kind of guy who reads Tacitus and Plutarch seriously, and it's that kind of special role. It's such a it's what else can we say about Paul Giamatti? The guy's just I mean, the guy's just great. The guy's just a legend. The fact that he won the Globe and then hit up In and Out in Westwood
Respect.
is respect. You know, I mean, for me, that's what I define as goals. You know, win an Oscar and go celebrate at In and Out. You know, he made it look way cooler than what was it? Joaquin Phoenix and Rooney Mara did the same thing.
Oh
yeah. Then when he won the Oscar, they also went to In and Out and had a burger outside.
All right,
goals.
Our next one, Cillian Murphy. What else can we say?
Great job. I mean, overall, fantastic job in the movie. It was overall, that movie's a nice, in terms of his performance, that's a culmination of him working with Nolan also for many years. And Nolan finally let him have the spotlight. And
you've all seen it. You all know what it's about.
I mean, put aside the loud soundtrack and everything, it does a good job playing a guy who's living in his head all the time and is then dealing with this moral dilemma of the bomb.
Doesn't realize the effect he has on people.
Exactly. Yes. That's the best element of the performance, that he does capture a guy who, how to say it, he's so in his head, he doesn't realize when he insults somebody or when he burns a bridge. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then our last one, I was actually really happy to see this. Jeffrey Wright. He got on the Oscar noms. Both actor and supporting actor for American Fiction. Hell yeah.
Jeffrey's so good. And in this, again, I think what Academy voters click with is what the movie says and represents through his character. And Jeffrey Wright, again, I'm so glad he got nominated, because he is doing, through this nomination, what the movie's trying to talk about. Let's be honest, great wins from the past, like Denzel, you know, they've won for great performances, but stereotypes, right? Denzel finally wins for playing take no prisoners, badass street cop who just happens to be in debt with Russian gangsters. Oh my gosh, you know, who plays Dre in the car, you know, and that sort of thing. Jeffrey Wright gets nominated for playing this, you know, this black writer who's like, hey, can you just take me seriously as a writer? You know?
So here's my hot take for this one. I actually want Jeffrey Wright to win.
Oh, no, look, he's my preference.
I want him to win, and I think Academy's going to give it to Giamatti.
See, my personal preference is Wright. You know, Wright's been just such a great actor. The first time I ever saw Wright, I was a young pup, and he was in Angels in America on HBO. He plays a gay nurse in New York during the AIDS crisis, and he's unrecognizable. You wouldn't believe it's Jeffrey Wright. It's pretty astounding.
My first exposure was in Casino Royale.
Oh yes, which came out soon after that. Came out about 3 years after Angels in America. So it's great to see him reach this pinnacle. But I agree. I would bet my money on Giamatti.
You know what?
With Murphy though,
I'll give it you know what?
Cillian Murphy
I'll give it a 50-50 split. To be honest, now that I'm thinking about it, it could easily easily go to either of them.
I think Cillian Murphy has a good chance of getting that award, though. I think Giamatti.
You know
I
what?
wouldn't say Giamatti has it in the bag.
I think you're right.
Yeah,
I think you're right. You know what? It's not. I think you're right. I think I know what you
might.
mean. I think Killian, very close second, Giamatti, but I would like to, because you know what? Wright's performance is more nuanced in a way.
Of course, no. Look, I mean, I think Wright deserves it, but they're just not going to give it.
I know. I know.
I think the momentum is with Giamatti and Murphy, and I think it's almost unpredictable. It's kind of up in the air how it's going to go.
Slightly, but you're right. I think Academy probably leaning slightly more towards Killian, but Giamatti, it's almost 50. It's like 55% leaning towards Killian.
Yes. So it's a tricky one.
It's 55-45.
It's a tricky one. It's a tricky one. All
And
right.
our last category, I'm just going to run through because they changed it from 5 to 9. American Fiction, Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. We've talked about most of these films in great length. I'm telling you right now, the Academy lock is Killers of the... sorry, Academy lock is Oppenheimer.
I mean, it could go either, but
No. I think Academy lock is Oppenheimer.
I think it's Oppenheimer. I think you're right. It's Oppenheimer. Personal preferences. I mean,
Zone of Interest.
yeah. I mean, I think out of all those movies, the most important one and the most impressive is Zone of Interest.
You know what the upset would be? The Holdovers.
No,
I
think the upset would be
upset would be like an actual upset would be Holdovers, but
oh yeah.
I think I think the fact that it wouldn't go to Oppenheimer would be
it'd be crazy. I think any other chances would be either Poor Things or Killers. I don't think Barbie's got it in the bag because it's not even nominated for director.
That would just be a straight up joke.
Well, and it's not nominated for directors, so I don't think it's got a shot. But I think I think you're right. I think Oppenheimer is going to win. The other movies I think are nominated for merit.
Not Maestro.
No, you know what?
That should be in the fucking Razzies. Come on.
I'm gonna forget it's even nominated. As the years go by, I'm gonna forget it was even nominated for Best Picture. It's one of those where years I'll look back and be like, wait, what the fuck? Yeah. Maestro was nominated for
Well,
Best Picture.
Since we're speaking of Razzies, we'll end the evening
with the real awards.
With the real awards.
Now, you may not know this, dear listeners, but
oh my god, is that Cheryl Hines? Oh,
Dios mío. Now, listeners, you may not be aware that there is an alternate to the Oscars that's been done for years now, the Razzies, where they nominate, even in this politically correct age, the Razzies still give out awards for worst of the year. Hey, you know what? I've always said that it's kind of a test of your character, because to me, if you win a Razzie and you show up to pick up, you're cool.
There've been a few, and I respect. Paul Verhoeven showed up for Showgirls. Halle Berry famously.
You know what? If I was nominated for a Razzie, I would totally
hell
go.
Yeah.
I would
it
go.
Would probably be fun.
I would go. You know what? They probably have better food than the Oscars.
My guess is
I wouldn't even be surprised.
Everyone who's nominated for this won't show up, except maybe one.
Well, I think Stallone famously does not go. I think he I think he takes it personally when he gets nominated, because I think he has the most nominations.
I think so.
I think Stallone. I read somewhere that I think he's got some Razzie record or something.
But in terms of alternative Oscars, and I'll posit this. I've mentioned this a few times, but there's a channel I really like called In Frame Out, where they do every year. I don't know if it's before the Oscars or right after, an alternative Oscars, meaning you can't nominate anyone who either won or is on the Oscar shortlist,
Oh,
but that we come up with basically our list of people who we think were equally as good or should have won that nowhere close. So like Rebel,
oh
right?
yeah. Well,
Rebel, I
Rebel,
think that'd be fun, but we'll
Rebel should
tinkle with it depending on time.
because Rebel should have taken picture, director, cinematography,
Exactly.
but
So, but for now, we'll do this. It's a much shorter list, and let's just have some fun.
it just has
We're worst screenplay. We have Exorcist Believer.
totally deserve the fun. This is one category where I have no complaints. Everyone nominated deserves to be on here.
Expendables, Indiana Jones and the
Yes,
Dial of Can I Go
yes.
Home Now? This is this is actually what the Hollywood Reporter wrote.
No. I think this is how they put the nominee. Again, the Razzies are so much fun. This is how they. This is how they.
And I believe it's the night before. So if we
Yes.
can find a way to stream it, uh, if there's a place that
Shoot,
we
I
can
wish we
watch it,
could attend. Let's write to them.
let's
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 do
do
it.
it.
Let's
Let's
do
do
it.
it. Let's do it. I would. Oh, that would be fun. Shazam! Fury of the Gods. I still
Yes.
don't believe you about the
Yes.
Taste the Rainbow
I'm
thing.
telling you, there are there are demon unicorns and Skittles in this thing, and then Gal IDF Gadot pops up at the end to resurrect Shazam from the grave. It's one of those where you're just sitting there like, what am I watching? What is this? God.
And then Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey.
I mean, okay, I agree. It was one of the worst films of the year, but it was also almost self-conscious enough. You feel like the director knows he's making crap on purpose, but yeah, that movie was absurd.
I don't even have to watch these other movies to already tell you that my pick of the worst movie made this
Yes.
century, Expendables.
No, honestly, there's no competition here, people, because Exorcist Believer, we're choosing here among shit, but
Exorcist Believer at least feels like just a real movie where the
Yes.
script is dog shit.
all these other movies feel like there's some kind of effort put into them. It just didn't work. Expendables
Is legitimately it's a tax scam.
it's just garbage.
So worst screenplay, yep. Worst director, Reese Frake Waterfield for Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey.
Yes.
David Gordon Green for The
Yes.
Exorcist Believer. Peyton Reed for Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania.
Yes.
Scott Waugh for Expendables. And Ben Wheatley, rest in peace, for Meg to the Trench.
I mean,
Without a shadow of a doubt, Scott Waugh for
Expendable-
Expendables 4.
I mean, Payne Reed, I think
That was just lazy.
that was just lazy, and that was also poor guy. That was the first Marvel movie of 2023 where you really were like, "Wow, the MCU really is not in a good place right now." But come on, Expendables. I mean, this guy, what? That is one of those movies. I always crack this joke when I see a bad movie, but this one, literally, you're sitting there thinking,
what is this?
and really, you woke up at 4 a.m., you went to a set, you were watching the monitor thinking, yeah, this is great. What were you thinking with the post-production? Like,
I don't think he even was thinking this is great. I just want to know what was going on in your head.
Yeah.
No, I'm like legitimately concerned.
like,
were you about to?
no, like, were you really sitting in an editing bay thinking, yeah,
This is
looking
awesome.
great. Like, this is
Were you even there? Are you a real person?
Was
Oh.
this an AI malfunction? This whole movie.
Yeah. Okay. Worst prequel, remake, or ripoff? Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, The Exorcist
Yes,
Believer,
garbage.
Expendables, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Still Beating a Dead
Yes,
Horse, and
yes.
Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. For me, Expendables.
And
There's no
it's gonna win everything. I'm sorry, but okay. Let's see. Worst screen couple.
couple. Any two merciless mercenaries, Expendables. Any two money-grubbing investors who donated to the $400 million for remake rights to The Exorcist. Anna de Armas and Chris Evans, who flunked screen chemistry.
Oh,
For
Ghosted.
Ghosted.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about
It-
that.
There's another Magic Mike movie? What?
Oh yes. Oh my
Salma
gosh.
Hayek and Channing Tatum for Magic Mike's Last Dance.
That's kind of me. Okay, the movie is not good at all. And that was actually the first movie I saw coming back from London. Funny enough, Magic Mike. Um, it was just, I mean, okay, look, the first two Magic Mikes, the first Magic Mike is actually good.
It's a great movie.
The second one is kind of a quirky Bob Fosse
Well,
kind of
it sounds like
thing.
the second movie did not understand what the first movie was about.
Yes.
It sounds like the second movie did what everyone thought the first Magic Mike was.
And this one is just
did not even know they made a third one.
this one tries too hard to, well, this one just loses sight of what it is. And then there's Pooh and Piglet as bloodthirsty slasher killers. Yes.
Honestly, you know what? The worst screen couple, I'm gonna give it to any two money grubbing investors.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm
I don't
actually
know, man.
I'm-
I hate Expendables so much. I mean, that one. I mean, I hated Exorcist, but
You
oh
know,
my
the
god.
reason I'm giving it to The Exorcist is because these greedy bastards clearly know the reputation of Friedkin's masterpiece and still decided this was the
Yes,
right.
actually,
This is
yes.
this is
That's
the.
a good point.
I'm
Why?
pissed off because Friedkin himself would have slapped the shit out of David.
Why do this to a classic?
Yeah. So that's the only time I think it will lose to Expendables. Worst supporting actor.
Oh,
Michael
poor Michael
Douglas in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, Mel Gibson in Confidential Informant, Bill Murray in Ant-Man and the Wasp:
Oh my-
Quantumania, Franco Nero as the Pope's
Oh
Exorcist,
my, which I did not see, but yeah.
and Sylvester Stallone in Expendables 4.
I mean, okay, I will
Here-
say this. I didn't see Confidential Informant, so I can't comment on Gibson, and I didn't see Pope's Exorcist, but Stallone, I'd give it to Stallone just because by now he should know better.
But here's the
why
thing.
was he in that?
That's the thing. He was barely in the movie though.
But still, he should know better. Michael Douglas, Michael Douglas, I wouldn't give it to, because he's doing the same thing he did in the last two Ant-Mans, except just in a bad
Okay.
one. He's just in a bad one now. But
Uh,
Stallone was so
no, fuck it, Stallone.
Yeah,
Yep. Sorry. Worst supporting actress: Kim Cattrall, About My Father; Megan Fox, Expendables; Bai Ling, Johnny and Clyde; Lucy Liu, Shazam: Fury of the Gods; and Mary Stuart Masterson in Five Nights at Freddy's.
Okay, I have not seen Johnny and Clyde or About My Father, but I I hated Friday Night at Freddy's. Mary Stuart Masters, that movie is so. I know people of the game or whatever, but that movie was god awful. That movie made no sense. It
Hey,
made
we're not about
absolutely
the
no
movie. We're
sense.
talking about the actress.
I would probably, yeah, you know. Oh, you know what, Lucy Liu. I might give it to Lucy Liu though.
Really?
She was so unbearable in Shazam: Fury of the Gods. It's that movie was so unbearable.
Okay.
Because here's the thing, Megan Fox genuinely looks like she's having fun in Expendables. She's kind of underused, I think.
That's the only one I saw. So I'm gonna abstain because Megan Fox shockingly is the least worst part.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
Lucy Liu wins for you.
Hmm.
Worst actress: Anna de Armas, Ghosted; Megan Fox, Johnny and
Oh,
Clyde;
she was in that too.
Salma Hayek, Magic Mike's Last Dance; Jennifer Lopez, The Mother; Dame Helen Mirren, Shazam: Fury of the Gods.
I didn't see Ghosted. I didn't see Johnny and Clyde or The Mother. Thank God. But no, my bad. I did see The Mother. Is that the one? Let me check. Is that the one where she plays the sniper? Because that movie was
What?
god awful. Yeah. Jennifer Lopez. I think I did see that. See, that movie was so bad. I think I forgot. I saw. Yes, I did see that movie. Oh my god. The Mother. Yes. Oh my god. Yes, that movie is absolute trash.
Well,
that was
there you
that was
go.
a god awful
So what's
movie.
your pick? I
Kinda
have not
hard,
seen any
though.
of these.
You know what? I might give it to I might give it to, Helen Mirren, as bad as Shazam was, You can tell she just doesn't give a shit. So I kind of props to her. Jennifer Lopez, that movie was god awful. I might give it to Selma just because Selma is very annoying in Magic Mike's Last Dance. And
Okay.
you know what, too, though, and this is not okay. Look, ladies, I'm not being an ageist or anything. On the contrary, Selma does this thing in the movie that I think she's been obsessed with lately, which is it's like she's terrified of age, of the passage of time. So in that movie, she tries too hard to prove she's still like a vixen or something, and it just doesn't work in a movie that's just kind of all over the place. And I'm not saying it's implausible that she would hook up with Channing Tatum. That's very possible. Again, hey, age gaps. It's all about what the story is, who's involved. As in real life, it's all about the parties involved. But I just I thought she was just kind of overselling the like I'm a middle-aged woman who
I can still
doesn't give a
do it.
shit.
Fair
Yeah,
enough.
yeah.
All right. Worst actor: Russell Crowe in The Pope's Exorcist, Vin Diesel in Fast
Oh
X,
my
Chris Evans in Ghosted, Jason Statham, Meg 2, The Trench, and John Voight in Bercy. I don't even have to know the movie, but Vin Diesel has not been putting in effort
Yeah, you know
in the
what?
last
I gotta
10
agree.
years.
I also because you know what? I think Statham was just doing his Statham thing in Meg 2. He wasn't pretending to be anything else. I didn't see Mercy, but you know, we all know John Voight's gone totally off the rails lately, so I'm not surprised he's in a shit movie. Yeah, I agree. Vin Diesel, I Fast 10, how did it make so much money? I don't know. I hated that movie. I had a god awful time at that movie. So yeah, Vin, you get the
People have said that Russell Crowe is delightfully camp in Pope's Exorcist.
the movie looks like total camp. Yeah, so
It looks like Russell Crowe just had a really fun. I mean, he drives a Vespa. He's a Pope who drives a Vespa. Like, come on, let the man have some fun. Come
Russell
on.
knows how to do that. It was the same thing with that weird movie he was in 3 years ago.
Unhinged?
Yes. Oh my god, it was such a bad movie, but I enjoyed watching him just being the crazy road rage guy who's like, you know, just saying crazy one-liners while blowing up someone's gas tank.
And now I already know the answer to this, but we're gonna run it
Yes,
down.
yeah.
Worst picture: The Exorcist Believer, Expendables, Meg 2, The Trench, Shazam: Fury of the Gods, and Winnie the Pooh: Blood and Honey. I don't even gotta think about it.
You know
The
what
worst
we're gonna
movie
choose.
made this century is The Expendables,
Well,
without a shadow of a doubt.
and you know what? Again, I hesitate. I tongue tie myself calling it a movie. It's not a movie. It's not a film. It's not a movie. It's not any kind of anything. It's just it's a series of images glued together in some lazy half-ass attempt at making something someone thinks is a movie. That's my only description for Expendables. And I hold to this. I'm sorry if this upsets you millennials out there who remember the late 90s. It looks like a Nintendo 64 game. I know video games have come a long way since then, so I think it's safe to use that as a shade, as a as a bit of shade on that movie.
It's insane.
Yeah, I mean,
Look, Meg 2 is a bad movie, but it's one of my best theater experiences. It was a lot of fun. It was so stupid.
and you know what? You know what? At least Meg 2 has real sets. The boats don't look like Nintendo 64 frames. What a bad movie.
But
What a bad movie.
that's
Fuck Expendables.
Fourballs.
Fuck
That
that
was
movie.
yeah.
I don't care to slide if you watch this because
You should know better,
you
dude.
should know better. We say it with love. We say it with
Everyone
love.
who was in that, you should have known. Actually, I think Megan Fox knew exactly why she was there. So you know what, respect, I guess. But
Megan, you know, we're about the same age. I know at some point you start getting worried about you start getting that millennial anxiety about where we're going and what we're doing or whatever. That's not the way to do it. I know you were having fun in this movie. You were the best part of the movie, but
least worst. There's nothing
worst, yeah.
good.
But don't do this again. It's like when Susan Sontag wrote a historical novel and asked Gore Vidal for what he thought, and he said, "Susan, just promise me you'll never do that again."
Wow. Wow.
So that's Megan. Don't do that again, please. I actually watched Jennifer's Body for Halloween and thought you were fantastic in that movie. You were the only good thing in the Ninja Turtles Michael Bay produced movies. Um, don't do this again. Yeah.
Oh boy, and there we have it.
Oscars and Razzies.
Oscars and Razzies.
Well, make sure to update on whether we were right or wrong come Oscar night in a month. In a month and
I
a
think
half.
they said March 10, I believe.
So in a month and a half, check in with us on the Oscars. Until then, we've got a lot of great content coming your way. We've got our last episode of Chronicles of Man coming up. We've got some Dewey Recommends coming up.
Yes.
So just, hope you enjoyed this rundown of the nominees and the Razzies. The best, well, what the Academy claims is the best, and what we know is the worst of the year.
And we'll think of a way to do it, but there are quite a few films, quite a few nominations that didn't get any recognition whatsoever. So I don't know. We'll tag this channel as telling about, because I think it's a really good idea. Because I mean, two of my favorite movies of the year, three technically, nothing.
Zero. I'm used to it every year. What I really loved just got no love from the Academy.
It gives us another excuse to catch up on just a few more. Obviously, there's still a lot of movies that came out last year that we won't see maybe for a year or two, but at least the ones that I'm consciously interested in, we still got a few to catch up on. The Peasants, Godzilla -1, Teacher's Lounge, and hopefully we can put something together. Because you know what? As fun as it is to dogpile bad movies, I find it more interesting to share love for things that we enjoy and things that we want to send out there. So
and hidden gems,
hidden gems. So we could turn that into a do we recommend with that format, but we'll figure something out. But we got a lot of good stuff. All our links are down below. Instagram, all our updates, our channel, our podcast is 2 years old as of today. January 23rd.
Happy birthday to us.
So I don't know. We'll get a pizza or something to celebrate. I thought you put a gun in your mouth. I was like, yo, come on, whoa.
I got at least 2 years before that.
Follow us on that.
As the little bear in Ted said in the new TV series, as Hemingway asked, what does this gun taste like?
Oh my God. But we have a lot of good stuff. We're also currently in pre-production on Alcie's next shorts about the Salvadoran poet Roque Dalton. I actually have his book of poetry that I'm diving into now.
Follow us on that adventure.
You know what? I will link that down below too. Roque's short film, but you'll get updates here.
We're gonna have a campaign coming up, guys, and you'll just follow us on that adventure as well, because it's gonna be quite a trip. Along the way, you'll meet some of the other players involved, because we got quite a crew. So
yes.
Let's see how many of us are alive by the end of the year.
Yeah, we have a lot of big episodes coming up. Big year for us, and we'll continue doing live streams. Hopefully, live stream the Razzies, live stream the Oscars, something like that. It's fun to do. That would be great. Something that's just super casual. We hope people show up and ask us questions about stuff. But until then, catch you guys later. Take care.
Free Palestine.